It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech. I'm Jason Howell, filling in for Leo Laporte, and today we've got some awesome guests. Joining me today is Ashley Esqueda, Roberto Baldwin, and Megan Morrone, where we have so much fun, so much news to discuss. Amazon buying One Medical. What might Prime Healthcare actually look like? We take some guesses. Also, Snap and Twitter earnings lagging. That's largely thanks to a diminishing ad spend market. What does it mean for big tech? That's coming up. Subscriptions for in-car features, hot or not? I think not, but we've got a nice discussion there. How Netflix's identity, which is binging content, is actually biting its butt. Plus, so much more coming up next on This Week in Tech.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 885, recorded Sunday, July 24th, 2022, St. Jeff's Memorial Hospital. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Certain people make my life easier by helping me out, and ZipRecruiter makes hiring easier because they do the work for you. How? ZipRecruiter's technology finds great candidates, and you can invite them to apply. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/TWiT to try it for free. And by Audible. Audible lets you enjoy all of your audio entertainment in one app. Let Audible help you discover new ways to laugh, be inspired, or be entertained. New members can try it free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/TWiT or text TWiT to 500-500. And by Stamps.com. Stop wasting time and start saving money when you use Stamps.com to mail and ship. Sign up at Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code TWiT for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. And by ExpressVPN. If you don't like big tech tracking you and selling your personal data for profit, it's time to fight back. Get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package by going to expressvpn.com/TWiT. It's time for TWiT This Week in Tech, and you can already tell it's a different kind of TWiT because I'm your host today, Jason Howell, filling in for Leo Laporte, who will be returning soon, but not today. And what can I say on all the weeks, like no matter what with TWiT, you're guaranteed to end up on a panel of amazing people. But I've got 3 of my favorite internet people on with me today, starting with Ashley Esqueda, writer, host, internet raconteur. How you doing, Ashley?
I'm good. Gainfully unemployed, working on projects. I'm great. Things are good. Things are weird. Things are good. I like it.
Yeah. That sounds like the last couple of years in a nutshell. Things are weird, at least. I don't know about the good part.
I don't know if they were good.
People would contest with the good part, maybe. But
yeah, I might have to throw a flag there. But weird, yeah, for sure.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's great to have you here, Ashley. It's been a while, and really appreciate you joining us on This Week in Tech. Also joining us, another person who has not been on the show. Actually, I think everybody that's on the show hasn't been on in quite a while. Roberto Baldwin is here, co-host Will Bearing's podcast and Man About Town.
Man About Town. I do things around town. Sometimes people pay me for those things.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, I heard that you did something around town last night. You had a show, right?
Oh yeah, Friday night we had a show at the Rickshaw.
Oh, that was Friday. Sorry.
2 of my 17 bands had a show that night, so it was a good time. So if you were there, hi. If you weren't, I don't know, go there next time, I guess.
Right. There will be more. There will be more. One of these days, I'm going to make it to one of your shows. Love it. That's awesome. Welcome back, Roberto. It's good to see you. And then also joining us, someone who folks who are familiar with the TWiT network are very familiar with, haven't seen in a while on this network, on this show especially, Megan Morrone. Welcome back, Megan.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. Forgive me if I faint. I got my second booster today. I got the Band-Aid and everything.
Oh, dear.
So yeah, I feel great.
Good. Well, you look great. And it's great to have you on for now until that booster kicks in. And just give us a heads up, I guess. If you start getting dizzy or whatever, just give us a heads up. Editor at
for
Protocol,
sure,
of course. Sure. Just so people know what you're up to now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But It is so good to see the three of you. This is going to be a lot of fun. We've got the keys to the sports car this week. So where should we drive first? We got a dock full of news, and I really do not want to start with Elon Musk. So I don't even know why I said that out loud, because it almost makes it happen when you do that.
I was going to say, now I feel like we have to. I feel like you drove us I feel like you drove us right off the freeway into Elon Town.
It's like everybody tells you
gone wrong.
It's like, don't stare
Elon
at the
Musk
sun.
did
Don't look at the
something.
sun. And then I looked at the sun. This is exactly what I did. Fine, real
Did
quick.
something the end.
That should just be a recurring segment on Twit. It's just Elon did something, and then you just talk about it, because it's like a guarantee every week. There's something going on with Elon Musk.
It's a 6-sided die, and when you roll it, 5 of them say Musk, and the other one is like a random story. So what is the thing that Elon Musk did this time? Well, I guess this has to do with his trial, right? There's this trial.
Oh, okay.
And, between Twitter and Elon Musk was pushing for it to go to next year, but that's not happening. Apparently, Twitter was pushing for it to happen soon. They want to, get this done, reap whatever reward / benefit they can from this really just messy, ugly situation. And apparently, it's going to be expedited, 5-day trial, going to happen in October. So we aren't going to have to wait long. I kind of felt like we were going to wait a lot longer, and this whole Musk thing was going to continue out forever and ever. But I suppose this is good news. What do y'all think?
Well, that Delaware Court of Chancery, like they don't tend to mess around. This is like a very no nonsense court, and it ended up. I think the 5 days is actually. One party wanted a shorter trial, the other wanted a longer one, and then of course, Elon Musk said, my legal team needs more time to prepare. We have to push this until next year. Chancery, nope, we're going to do this in October. It's going to be 5 days and that's it. So I think, Twitter just wants to put all of this to bed, whatever, come what may, they would like to move past this. And so I think that, this is a real big win for Twitter to not have to kind of drag this out even longer than it needs to be.
It's odd for Elon to want to delay something. That doesn't seem in his personality at all. I don't know.
The filing itself is funny because it's sort of designed for Twitter. Like it's in, it has the little poop emoji that he tweeted in it. It's like little pieces that it's almost like they did it just like perfect for their platform. Like this is how it's going to play out. This is the speed at which it's going to play out. If you read it, it's just like little tweets basically in the filing, which is amazing. It's like a little performance art.
The entire trial is expected to be rolled out in 140 characters per side. So I think you're absolutely right. I don't know how they're going to pull that off.
What is it, 280 now? Is it 280 now? Let's
That's true. They have expanded on that.
Come on, it's expanded. The tweets have been expanded.
Classic.
It's going to be one long thread.
Yes.
And the lawyers are not allowed to edit anything. They're not.
No
once
editing.
you say
My
it.
God.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
There will be not a single edit made. No edits.
Nope.
Unless they subscribe to Twitter Blue, in which case you can undo an argument. There you go.
Really quickly.
Are you all using Twitter Blue these days? I signed up for it initially, and then after like a couple of weeks, like I think my credit card, like I had to replace my credit card. There was fraud or something like that, and I just never updated it. So apparently I'm not missing it that much. But what about y'all?
I use that
did
undo
it for-
feature often enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do still.
That was
I use Twitter so much that I'm like, I feel like I like some of the features it has, so it's like helpful for me. But the undo is really nice. Like the click
undo
send
is
now,
nice.
and then it's like, hey, if you want to undo this in like 10 seconds, then like here's your chance, because it'll give me that one last proofreading, which that's always when I catch it right after I post. So once I hit that tweet button, then it's like, oh, there's my typo. Undo that. Like let's just start over. So that's helpful.
Right.
I like that. That's a nice feature. I actually do appreciate that feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only feature I used. And for $5 a month, I felt like it was worth it. But I also felt like it kind of trained me a little bit to take that extra look. So I don't know, you form a habit in like 30 days. So like now I do feel like I think a little bit more, and then I do that last proofread before I tweet. But in the no ads thing never really worked for me. Like I would always click and get at, like
Same.
you're supposed to be able to see content with no ads, or maybe see it without a subscription. I don't know. That was
Yeah,
almost
it's the no ads thing is very weird because it's like for LA Times, like if I click on an LA Times article, it says you need a subscription. And I guess if I have a subscription, that would be a thing I wouldn't see other ads on. It's very odd and it doesn't work and it's weird and bad. And I don't like how it's set up. It should just be, here are the partnerships we have. If you click on an article in the Twitter app, we will open it in our own proprietary browser and you can read it like in a reader mode or something like that with no ads and that's it. Like that should be how it works. But unfortunately, that is not the case and it is very annoying.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah. I thought about signing up and then I thought, I don't care enough. I tweet, oh my God, a lot, so much. And they're all full of typos. And I'm like, you know what? I've gone this far. Why mess with the, why mess with the brand?
Now,
That's my brand. Exactly. Yeah. Like, why mess with it? Just let it go.
That's who you are.
If 5 tweets happen and none of them have typos, people are just going to assume I've been kidnapped. So, or hacked.
I understand.
Or both.
He's spelling just a little bit.
That's a good fail-safe that you've inadvertently created for yourself. I like that.
Yeah.
It's my security. It's my InfoSec.
Very nice. Apparently, we don't care about Musk because we're just talking about Twitter and it has nothing to do with Elon Musk. And you know what? That's just the way it deserves to be. That actually
there's so many other things he did this week too, like today, yesterday, day before. It's just nonstop.
So much of it is just so tabloidy, though. So I end up tuning it out because it just feels like noise more than anything. You know,
so much noise.
I did almost get canceled on Twitter this week. Should we talk about that?
Really?
About Elon?
Do tell.
Now I'm going to get canceled again. So I got home from work and my 3 teenagers were at the dinner table and I was like, did you see the pictures of Elon Musk without his shirt on? And my daughter said, Mom, you cannot body shame anyone, including billionaires. She's 19, smarter than me. And so I tweeted that. And I said I thought she was wrong, which, if you know me, I was joking. I'm not a body shamer. But then someone retweeted it and there was a whole big thing about like, if you body shame a billionaire, anyone with a similar body will feel like now they know, what you think about them. It was a big learning moment. But it was one of those moments where I was like, oh yeah, I guess everyone who follows me and follows the people who are going to retweet me don't really know when I'm joking.
Right.
So yeah. And then somebody retweeted it today, like, don't body shame the rich, just eat the rich, which I thought was good. That was a good thought. I wish I had tweeted that.
If you're going to eat the rich, you shouldn't be body shaming them. If anything.
Nothing wrong with eating the rich.
Right. Exactly.
Nothing wrong with eating the rich or taxing them for.
There are just so many other ways to like poke fun at them.
Yeah,
That's like Elon. That's like Elon is like. Did you see his Elden Ring build? It's garbage. Like that's the thing I'll drag him for until the end of
Elden Ring shame people.
Sure. I'd be careful with that one.
I will throw the word maidenless around without remorse. That's my favorite insult for people now. It's just that's part of my permanent lexicon. Just maidenless behavior.
Well, let's.
I think we did it. We did
move on.
We did it, everyone.
From Elon Musk topless to just Twitter and Snap. And the only reason that I'm going here is because I'm seeing kind of like a thing happening. I think this is kind of interesting to talk about. Snap had its weakest quarterly earnings report ever, slowing its growth, the slowest growth in history as a public company. And of course, the economy right now, everything's, in flux, everything's upside down, it feels like, especially the last 6 months, things have changed a lot in a very short amount of time. And so what they're seeing, because they rely so heavily on the ad spend, is that, that money is just being removed, right? Not to mention Apple's privacy policy changes, which have had a dramatic effect on Snap. This is, of course, the changes that allowed iOS users to opt out of ad tracking. So that's making things more difficult for a poor company like Snap. Shares dropped 25% on the news. And then you got Twitter, which reported lower than expected earnings for the quarter. Their ad revenue actually only grew 2% year over year. That's compared to 23% growth last year. And so a lot of what I was reading about this, has to do with, the ad spend slowdown that's happening right now. The economy, of course, with Twitter, you've got the shirtless Elon that we were just talking about. There's probably a lot of blame that can be placed on him as far as that's concerned. But actually Twitter's, spent out of pocket a good amount of money just on that alone, $33 million between April and June. But setting all that aside, we're in this time of economic uncertainty. Apple's privacy move is compounding the pain that's felt by tech companies who are just really, their business is totally reliant on ad spending and data tracking and all this crazy stuff. It just seems like Twitter and Snap are a couple of examples. And I feel like we're going to be, cascading effects as we move forward further into this year. We're going to see a lot more companies feeling the effects of this.
It's just not where people are. Twitter is its own thing. I think Twitter has always, they've always struggled, right, to turn a profit, to make Twitter, to really blow out Twitter into something similar to a Facebook, or I think Twitter is a weird kind of outlier in its own way. But that's not where anybody is. And so it's Snapchat is competing with Instagram and TikTok. And the thing is there was a point where, there was a mix of younger and older people on Snapchat. And now it's the younger people have broken off for TikTok and the older people have broken off for Reels. They're over on Instagram. And so there's just nobody there. It's not in use the same way that Instagram is being used and that TikTok is being used. And so it's just, I don't know anybody who uses Snapchat as their main mode of conversation with anybody anymore. You used to, but not anymore. And I think that's sort of the struggle that they're going to have, is they're going to find it very difficult because all of the, millennials and older are on Facebook and Instagram, and all of the Gen Z all the Gen Z kids are on TikTok now. And so they've all broken off from Snapchat, and they're like, bye, this is much more interesting to us. And also you have apps like BeReal, which a lot of influencers who are, in that younger demographic, they're also breaking off to apps like that. So it's just, it's a scenario where Snapchat is not in a great place, and I don't know what they can do to bring people back.
Release more spectacles, release more selfie drones.
Spectacles
Spectacles. I don't think I've opened Snapchat in about 4 years. So yeah, there was a point where we're hey, we're on Snapchat, but we were all on, MySpace at some point. We were all on Friendster at some point. We were all on
Facebook at some point. That thing.
Yeah, we were all on Facebook, and mostly I just get on Facebook to yell about Facebook, about how angry I am with them, and then. Mostly I'm on Facebook because of the bands, because that's where everyone says, "Hey, go see a show here on Facebook." But even for that, it's become completely unusable. It's just Facebook is really good at selling ads, and that's about it. Snapchat is really good at just, I don't know, sticking around longer than I anticipated, really.
Snapchat's really good at not going away. Other than that, it's well, what is it?
Every generation, it's it's not even every generation. It's just every so often you're going to have this churn where it's because no younger generation wants to use the social media platform that the older generations have used. They want their own thing. And I get that. I totally understand that. I respect it. That's what it is. Gen X was big on MySpace. Then, and then it was, boomers with Facebook, now they're but it wasn't that way at the beginning. And then it was oh, well, now we have MySpace, so bye. And they left all the boomers on Facebook. Then it became, oh, well, here's Twitter, here's Snapchat, it's just, Instagram for a long time was before it got bought by Facebook. They're just every single kind of group that comes up and starts using social media, they want their own thing. They want their own thing. They want to feel ownership of it. They want to feel like it's their community, their age group, their demo, because that's what they want. They want to interact with people who are like them. And so it's very hard. I am surprised most of these companies have survived as long as they have, just because, I guess now it's if you look at the demographic use of each one of them, it skews heavily towards one column, right? And I think, TikTok in particular is it's just exploding right now with users because that's where everyone is, and that's where all the trends and the memes are coming from. That's the thing.
Yeah, and the stuff that's
TikTok
happening
is-
on TikTok is ending up on other platforms as well. It's
Yeah,
like
just getting
all this crazy
reposted,
stuff is happening on TikTok,
regurgitated.
and
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and
It's
just
all,
like,
and
take
people
that
go, oh, well, why am I using this when I should just be over here and then I could see it first?
Yeah, be at the
so then everybody
source,
just
be at the
starts
source.
migrating. Yeah,
Instagram, so I can see what TikToks I haven't seen yet.
exactly.
Like, oh, this one didn't show up in the algorithm. I'll go over to the Instagram and watch it there.
Yeah, when my kids borrow my phone because apparently they know my password. Yeah, they're ending up on YouTube watching the TikToks that are there. You know, and actually, so this was a surprise, totally tying with what we're talking about. I was away with my family on a swim meet. For a swim meet for my daughter, and while she was there, you know, she was with a couple of friends, and she had my phone at one point. And then when I got my phone back, Snapchat was installed. And some of her friends from the swim meet were friended. So apparently some people are using Snapchat and, you know,
I think
younger
it's
kids
whatever your
apparently have
friends are using.
Snapchat
Yeah.
and use it regularly. I don't know.
That's what your friends have.
I think it's what your friends have and it's what your parents don't want you to
Yeah.
have. Like Snapchat was the big thing, nobody's parents, because things just disappear. Like, which actually turns out to be pretty good for kids when things
Totally.
disappear. Like,
I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%.
So I think, my kids use it and I will use it sometimes because they, we all I like to see their Bitmojis, especially when my daughter went away to college. So I could see she was all the way in New York. But that's really the only way that I used it. But all of these companies are dependent on advertising dollars and those are right now in the toilet. So that's the other thing that is affecting all of these. And if you already Snapchat lasted this long for whatever reason, but it might be the change that Apple made with tracking, might be the final, kick in the pants, tossing them off the edge because they can't, they really can't make money right now because it's the changes with the Apple, it's the war in Ukraine, it's just the general macro environment, it's all these things. And if you were already not doing that great, or if you were a Twitter where someone was tweeting about how terrible your platform was, and also I'd like to buy it maybe, then you're not
hypothetically speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I think they're all suffering right now. Anyone dependent on advertising is suffering.
Yeah, for sure. There's two different directions we could go right now. So I'm going to go the boring one just real quick. And then after that, I have to take a break. And then we're going to talk about BeReal because you mentioned BeReal. And I definitely want to talk about that because I think that's super interesting. Before we go there, I think this ties in with what you're talking about, Megan, which is this American Data Privacy and Protection Act that is basically a new draft going through Washington, D.C. right now. There was an original draft in June. Many revisions since, and this is focusing on data minimization. So it ties in this whole ad tracking thing. What does a future of big tech look like if the mechanisms that they're used to relying on in order to stay in business and do what they've done for so many years is the rules are completely changed? And apparently, this draft spells out 17 permitted purposes for data collection and the use of the users. Things like authentication, things like fraud prevention, transactional data, that sort of stuff. Anything outside of those 17 purposes would be prohibited. So in essence, you can't collect data that you don't actually need. And these are the categories that you might actually need data for. And if they aren't those categories, then you can't. And I think it'll be interesting if this is a bipartisan bill that's taking shape right now, and it happens, the impacts that this has for the tech companies that really rely on this. One thing that it points out is targeted advertising, and actually people who are really advocating for privacy say this is kind of one of the disappointing parts of this bill. It would impose limits on this. But only some, not all. I think data privacy, maximalists would say, get rid of, targeted advertising entirely. And of course, I'd be amazed if they actually went in that direction. But instead they're saying, no, you can't do this to minors. You can't have targeted advertising based on sensitive data like health, geolocation, private communication, that sort of stuff. And no following people around on the internet tracking everything they do, like dropping, some sort of tracking mechanism that then shows that when I go over to this site, I buy this thing and how it all ties into place. And I don't know. I'm curious to see how, if this happens the way it's described, it's going to impact the business model of so many of these companies that are just making money hand over fist the way things have been.
I mean, Facebook and Google have been just reaping the benefits of our lives for over a decade. Oh my God, so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, and at some point somebody had to say, because privacy advocates and tech reporters and a lot of people have been saying, this is too much. You know too much about us. You don't get to know every single little bitty thing that's happening in my life, because I searched for something that I thought was private, and now you're using it to serve me ads because you think I'm pregnant, or to serve me ads because you think I enjoy, going to Thailand, or just weird little things that you're searching all the time, or you're doing, or where you're at. It's too much. And if you can bring that, or at least squelch it a bit, I think it helps for individuals, and it helps. I mean, the industry as a whole, they just need to figure it out. They're supposed to be smart people. If they can't figure it out, then I don't know what to tell them. That's the thing, is they've been, decades of how smart they are and how they're going to change the world. And anytime there's any little roadblock, they all freak out like, we don't know how this is going to work. I'm like, I thought you were the smart ones. That's what you keep telling us, at least. Figure it out.
Tens of thousands of people in that department whose express job is to figure this out. So why aren't you? Yeah.
You have billions of dollars and you're upset because Apple won't let people track people. Well, figure it out. You have tens of billions of dollars. I don't know what to tell you. I don't feel bad for you, and I don't feel bad for your horrible, horrible business practices.
Amen.
Pay for journalism.
Yeah, pay for journalism. That's the other thing. We've been building everything on the backs of journalists, but we've been stealing, all the ad dollars go to Facebook and Google, because
we keep that.
Someone gets on, that sits on, people sit on Facebook all day, and that's what the advertisers want. They don't want someone went to a site and they read an article for 30 seconds. They probably didn't see our ad. Meanwhile, over on Facebook, someone was on this site for 2 hours and our ad was right there while they scrolled up and down and got in a fight with their cousin about whoever was running for office in some small school district that no one knows anything about, other than someone made a big fuss about their stupid ideas.
Mm-hmm. Tell us how you really feel. Like it.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on ad tracking. I'm reining myself in for the dogs. I don't want to disturb the dogs.
Yeah, I understand. It's all about the dogs. Get it.
They get really upset when you talk about privacy law.
They're like, why? Don't tell them about us. Don't give them our real name. I'm like, I've doxed my dogs. Oh.
Totally
I'm a
did.
horrible
Dox
dog. Dox the doxy.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
All right, let's take a break, and we will thank the sponsor of this episode of This Week in Tech. And then when we come back, let's talk a little bit about BeReal, because I've been using it lately, and I'm curious to know all of your thoughts on it, and we'll dive into that. But first, this episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Certain people just make life so much easier. Wouldn't you agree? You don't know what you would do without them, right? Maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your personal assistant. They all make your life so much easier. It's nice to have someone on your side, right? It's like if you need to grow your business, ZipRecruiter is there making hiring so much easier because they actually do the work for you. So they're kind of your friend in hiring. Think of them that way. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter's technology actually finds the right candidates for your job. And then you can invite your top choices to apply. And 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter are actually amazing success. They get a quality candidate within the first day. Talk about not having to wait around for those results, right? No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site. It's based on G2 ratings as of January 1st, 2022. ZipRecruiter is awesome. We've used ZipRecruiter for TWiT, for hiring. And I mean, we're not alone. Everybody knows ZipRecruiter. You got to check it out yourself. The hardest thing you have to do is to remember our special URL to try ZipRecruiter for free. And that is ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/TWIT. Check it out. You're going to be really happy at the time that it saves you to find a qualified candidate for your position. That's ZipRecruiter.com/twit. We thank ZipRecruiter for their support of This Week in Tech. All right. So BeReal. Are we all using BeReal at this point? I guess show of audible hands as well as raising hands. But I've been on BeReal for probably now like a month and a half, and I'm really enjoying it. What about y'all? Megan, I know you're on BeReal.
Weird. Yeah, you're on BeReal?
I am. Yeah, we should be BeReal friends. I started being on BeReal through my daughter, who she was like, you have to get on this. This was, I don't know, it was like right when it was last summer. I don't remember when it was. And then it was just my kids for a really long time. And then it became, it's my kids, several of their friends who requested me. And so I felt like that was fair to accept their request. And then 4 former coworkers, Jason, Tom Merritt, Mike Elgin, and Will Aremus from Washington Post. So it's like 4 guy tech journalists and a bunch of 17 and 19-year-olds. That's who I follow.
Yeah. I've noticed in my short amount of time with BeReal that it is not about amassing, like collecting friends. You know what I mean? Like a lot of services, like when I started Facebook, it was all about like, I knew you for 2 minutes. Sure. You're my friend. And it was about getting that number high, high, as high as possible back in, 2008 or whatever it was. BeReal seems to be a lot more controlled, I suppose. What about you, Ashley, Roberto? Have you used this at all?
Yeah, I love it. I just like the idea of it, which is that for those of you who like have not used BeReal, if you're listening to this, so it's an app that is, I would say like Jason, it's a controlled social media. So it's not just posting publicly whenever you feel like it. You gotta basically the app flags you and says you've got 2 minutes to post. Like this is the time you get everybody gets the same 2-minute window to take a picture of what you're currently doing, which is why it's called BeReal. It's just like no filters, just nothing, no AR, nothing like that. It's just very straightforward. Takes a picture with your front-facing camera and your rear-facing camera, and that's what gets posted to your profile. And there are rules that it has. So if you post late, other people will not, you won't be able to see other people's photos, their pictures for the day. If you want to delete a BeReal, you can only delete a picture and you're not allowed to delete the next day's picture. Like the next one that you post. They won't let you delete it. Like it'll say, you can't, so we'll let you delete this one, but you can't delete the next one. Like, so whatever that is. And it says, and there are things where you can say there was a bug or I can't see anything or, what have you. But it's really interesting that, it feels like BeReal is the antithesis of what most people think social media is for at this point, which I think is what is so appealing about it to a lot of Gen Z kids. I read, this is like a weird kind of, I promise I'm coming back to BeReal at this point. I read a really interesting Ask Reddit the other day, and someone said, I just don't understand Gen Z humor. Like, here's like some examples, and they listed some examples, and it's like, Gen X humor is like very kind of South Parky, sort of nihilistic. Then you get into millennial stuff where it's like this existential crisis humor. And then you get into Gen Z and it's just like, it's insane. Like you don't know what it even is half the time. And everybody's just kind of like weirdly in on the joke because it's just a vibe. Like the memes are vibes. Like they're not really... They're not at all like, they don't make sense a lot of the time, but it's a vibe. And like, I get it. I understand that. And that's cool. Like, I love it. But someone had responded to that Ask Reddit and they said, it's really interesting because Gen Z's meme humor specifically it moves so quickly. Their version of the internet moves so fast and evolves so quickly that a millennial or a Gen Xer or a boomer, whatever, what have you, might post something and that meme could live for weeks or months. Like, and in the early times of the internet, a meme would live for a year. Like it was just like, we all are familiar with the meme Icon has cheeseburger. Like that is an iconic longtime meme. That doesn't exist for Gen Z. It's just like, you're living in the moment from moment to moment, meme to meme, and it gets remixed and regurgitated and redone and just transformed so many times in the span of 24 hours that it just becomes chaos. Like, it's chaotic, but it's a vibe. Again, like it's funny because it's a vibe. And so it's, I thought that was so fascinating, and BeReal to me seems like it is working very hard against that. And it's just like, no, this is just like, show people what you're doing right in this moment. It's the same, everybody shares the same 2 minutes. So it's really a little snapshot of like what's going on in time right now at your phone. There you go. That's it. It's like very simple, very straightforward. And it has, it's got bumpers on it, right? It's got guardrails on it to keep you from gaming the system the way so many other social media platforms have been gamed by both influencers, advertisers, everything in between. It's just super fascinating. I find BeReal like so fascinating. It's very interesting to me.
It gives me flashbacks to early Twitter, to be honest. Like early Twitter.
Of that. Yeah,
just in the sense that when Twitter first came out, it was kind of like, what do we even use this for? You mean we're just supposed to share what we're doing right now? I guess I'm eating a sandwich. Does anyone really want to know that I'm eating a sandwich? Half the time with BeReal, what you end up getting, or at least what I end up getting in my feed, is people sitting in front of their computers, right? So you end up seeing like a screen with whatever they're working on, then a shot of them sitting at their computer, which isn't the most exciting thing. I realize, hey, join a social network where all you see is what people are, that they're working at their computers, just like you. But I think what's interesting or appealing to me about it is that because of the guardrails that you were talking about, Ashley, because of kind of the rules of play, so to speak, and this idea that you can't, like, there's no easy way for you to go all Instagram and show, your luxurious yacht because you just happen to be standing in front of one, with the 2 minutes that it happens or whatever. There's no painting your life to be anything, hopefully, other than what it actually is. And it's kind of the blandness of life ends up being the appealing factor of BeReal for me. It's kind of like confirmation that, like, oh yeah, my life can be pretty boring too. Nice. You're not always seeing just the really great stuff that someone's doing. You're seeing kind of the boring stuff that they're doing. And that's cool too, because that's what being a human is all about. So
there's a very funny tweet about it that says, I can't believe we're all so fake. This is from Connor Franta. He says, I can't believe we're all so fake. They're now making social media apps that force us to be ourselves. That's hilarious. It's like, yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Roberto, what were you going to say?
I just like that there's now a social media that'll just chronicle late stage capitalism of just sitting in front of our computers with the existential dread in our eyes. How are things going? Well,
just staring at this box again.
I also just literally signed up for it like 2 seconds ago. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fine. Whatever.
I need a fifth tech reporter guy. So yeah.
Oh, it's the same name, STRNGWIS. Okay. Go ahead. Follow me. Don't follow me. Don't care.
So the fatal flaw with BeReal, and I don't know why they didn't think of this, it seems quite obvious, is that the app is terrible. And some people think that's like very unique. But the reason why it almost never works, because everyone is using it at the exact same time. And like that is inherent in what you do. Like everybody opens it up and takes the picture. And then, so it's like, well, didn't you know that like as you scaled, as you got more users,
good point.
The data spike is very bad.
Yeah. Oh, so it starts at the same time every day?
No, everybody gets
the same time for everyone.
Same time for everyone.
But you can change your time zone, like to European time zone or like US time zone, but not like little US time zones. But you can be on a different time zone. But it's basically the same time every day. So what has happened is like I've been using it as like I don't really do it every every time. Like, but you could do it at any time in the day. It just shows that you've done it late. And then after you do it, you can see everyone's photos. So like I haven't done mine today, and I'm definitely going to do it of you four to have like a very meta BeReal situation when you least expect it. But that's the thing. It's like it doesn't really. But I do still love it for all the reasons that we've discussed. The other thing that I don't know if you know this is that you can retake the picture if you don't like what you look like, but it will notify. Like, it doesn't notify, but you can look at people's BeReals, and like if I see that Jason had like this lovely picture of his steel cut oats and blueberries and his smiling morning face, I can see like how many times did he take that picture. So it'll say like that you like took it, until you had the exact right angle. So
really?
just so
I didn't know that it had that
Yeah.
feature.
Oh, yeah.
I thought no one knew
Also,
that I retook that shot 5 times with my
It'll
oats.
Now we
snitch on
know.
you if you screenshot too. If you screenshot.
It narcs you
It'll
out,
say
man.
this is a screenshot. Yeah.
It's a snitch.
Yeah.
I
It is
travel a lot to Europe,
It is a
so
snitch app for sure.
is it based on the phone's time zone, or is the app have its own time zone from where you set it up? Because I travel to Europe a lot, and so will it correct as I get over there?
I think it's only
I
the
guess we'll find
preferences
out.
because I think, I think it's
I
only
guess
the
we'll find
preferences.
out.
Okay,
And
I'm going to be real right now.
Okay.
Don't
Oh,
say it.
yeah. Be reeling.
I'm just gonna look dead inside.
Something like Be Real, though, it's hard to see at this stage. Like it's got activity, it's got movement. Obviously, the younger generation users, a lot of like kids using it. I don't want to call them kids. A lot of younger people using them. This is what happens when you get your mid 40s.
Kids.
Kids.
I start
Kid,
calling
the hula
them the
hoop,
kids. Get off my lawn.
For kids.
But there's a lot of movement right now. Part of me wonders if an app like Be Real has a short lifespan, right? Because it's interesting right now, but like, what does it have the ability to grow into over time? It's kind of built around these really, like we were talking about it, these hard and fast rules. Like these companies
Facebook
ultimately want to
to
broaden out and become something more. How do you do that when you've got these rules?
Facebook will just copy this. It'll just be a feature that Facebook copies. Where it's like, it'll be like a check-in feature, but it'll just be like, hey, like, here's this fun little, sub menu on Instagram Reels or whatever, or on Instagram where you can just choose it. And then it's like, oh, if you'd like to be notified every day to just like snap a picture, we'll take one of the front and back of your camera or whatever. They'll just copy it.
Yeah, you're right. That's what usually happens.
You think the front back people are angry? Remember Front Back, the app that took a picture of the front and the back? Remember them? You think they're like, oh, come on.
Rest in peace, Front Back. Pour one out for Front Back.
Or went out, or Path.
All right,
or Peach.
Path, Peach. Yeah.
Peach. Oh, I forgot about Peach. Yeah.
Yeah. I just signed up for all these things so I keep my screen name, and now I'm just like, But I'm on Be Real now. This is the one that's going to stick.
Yeah,
this is
the
real.
one.
You're ready to
be real.
Be Real.
Stick around for at least 6 months.
Be Real's the next Facebook. You just wait and see.
Well, Megan's daughter told her about it like a year ago, so it's been around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been chilling.
Yeah.
And imagine the data that they can collect. That's the other thing, because if it really is us just doing our regular normal things, because if you were like, if you're constantly posting on Instagram about like the one time you saved enough money to go to Hawaii for the year, for me, like you're not like, that's not going to be that targeted advertising, right? But if it's like everything you're doing on a normal day, everything that's in your background, like, I mean, obviously they have a privacy policy in place and they're not like grabbing all that stuff yet, but it is a pretty interesting trove of data, just like what you're actually doing in your regular life.
Got to go there. See, I was just mindlessly posting what I'm doing at a random time, and now I got to think about exactly how all that imagery and stuff is being analyzed.
Are you getting a lot of ads for steel cut oats
I know,
and blueberries?
right? Yes, I am. No, I don't. Yeah, and I don't even think there's not even any ads in the app at this point. So that's not.
Pharmaceutical companies will use it to sell antidepressants. Everyone's just like, oh God, we go. Everyone just looks sad and are at their desk at a pharmaceutical. Yeah, let's get those people some Prozac.
Who knows? Maybe Amazon will buy Be Real, and then
they just buy everything.
Yeah, they buy everything. In fact, apparently Amazon is getting further and further into its ambitions of kind of revitalizing the health industry. They announced its intent to buy One Medical, which is a San Francisco chain of primary healthcare clinics. Although One Medical, from what I understand, I wasn't super familiar with this before kind of hearing about this news and reading up a little bit about it, is like technologically powered. So it's not just like primary healthcare clinics. It's got a technological kind of backbone to it, kind of like a self-service sort of approach for like primary care and telehealth.
Is this like Forward? There's like a chain of medical offices that they have like very high tech sort of experience when you go in. I think it's similar to this. It's like there's a real heavy focus on like, forward trajectory technology and like medicine.
Okay. Yeah.
Digital services.
Right.
I think One Medical was like aimed at probably like millennials and people like, so as an addition to health insurance. So when I worked at Medium, we had this as a benefit, like it was an extra benefit in addition to medical insurance. It was just easier and faster. They got in a little bit of trouble because I think like right when vaccines came out, they like sort of offered to have people who had One Medical skip the line.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
yeah,
they're, yeah, so it's like they're just like a disruptor, like Uber and taxis or Airbnb and hotels. That's their thing. Like
right. So Amazon's $3.9 billion all cash deal to acquire. And of course, everyone jumps to, the obvious place, which is, okay, do we trust Amazon to be that hands-on with our medical information? If you happen to be with One Medical, saw a lot of people online who were like, oh, seriously, like I'm out. If Amazon's in, I'm out. I'm not comfortable with that. So yeah, that's undeniably that's an easy place to go. This isn't Amazon's only foray into this either. They bought PillPack however many years ago, and that's the kind of like the automated kind of mail order pill delivery service for medication. Of course, Whole Foods, which isn't health care, but it is healthy living. So Amazon kind of has this whole thing going on right now. But does this concern any of you as far as Amazon being the puppet master in control of this healthcare wing, so to speak?
They're obviously going to use your data.
Yeah, anytime any company says, like, we're not going to do that, and then they do that. And,
they do inevitably,
like, and then they get sort of slapped by the government, and they get like a $30,000 fine or something, which is essentially like the executive lunch budget for the day. It's always concerning when any of these big companies continue to consolidate more ways to get your data, especially when it comes to healthcare. That's I don't know if
it's really prickly.
Yeah.
It's really prickly. It's like just a real thorny kind of place to be in, because the thing is, technically they would have to keep that information private, but also, there's the argument that could be made where it's like, oh, it's the data is anonymous, and we make sure that it's anonymous before it's used by Amazon Prime, or like, but the thing is like, it's going to know it's you, right? Like if you're going to a One Medical facility, your phone is there, your geolocation, if you have any location services on it, and you have the Amazon app. It's just, there's going to be a lot of coincidences with your data, right? It's just going to be, what a coincidence. You got diagnosed with diabetes, and now Amazon is going to recommend to you, like, here's all these sponsored, insulin pumps that we could recommend to you. And you can use your FSA and like all this other stuff. So I feel, it always makes me feel icky when like a big tech company buys a company that's in a completely different services vertical. It's just a little weird, and it sketches me out a little bit. I hate saying this, was like, I'm not going to stop using Amazon. Like, I need that convenience in a lot of ways. Like, and there's a lot of things that I need. Like, I'm a hypocrite, I fully admit it, but also it's just like, that kind of thing is like, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could give my health data to a company like Amazon. But then it's like, how much do they already know about you, right? Like, because if you are a diabetic, let's say you buy some supplies on Amazon, they probably have an idea that you or someone in your household has a certain health condition. So, or is in a bucket of a bucket that includes a myriad of health conditions that have similar symptoms or similar care instructions. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Well, and if they do know that about you, what exactly are they doing with that information if they know that about you, right? Like, it's not like they're selling, it's Amazon, so their business is not selling that information that we know of to someone else, but it is about like their myriad myriad ways that all of their services tie into each other. Like I can almost imagine, going to the front desk after, getting a health checkup, and they're like, do you have the, the Amazon Prime app? And you scan the QR code and you get like a discount on the way out or something like that,
Well, no, if you have Prime, you'll get a discount on your prescription. That's going to be the thing, right? It's like you're going to get some discount on your prescription, or you walk into a Whole Foods or an Amazon Fresh and it pings you and says, hey, like you have high cholesterol. You should try these foods or, sponsored foods or whatever. Like I can see that very easily happening, where it's like, oh, hey, like your doctor knows you have keto. Like here's some keto friendly food options, things like that. I can see that happening because your shopping data, if you're using Amazon already, that data is already being like sorted out in that way. They know that stuff about you.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the concern that people in the household share an Amazon account. No one has an individual, there's not like 5 people in the house who all have their individual Amazon account. The entire family uses one Amazon account. But if someone goes to the doctor and they're diagnosed with something that they don't want the rest of the house to know about, whether it's their parents or their spouse or their partner or whoever, the last thing that person wants is for someone else in the family to hop on Amazon and find this, you have hemorrhoids or something, it's just something that's
here's your preparation age.
Here's your preparation age or something worse, there's pregnancies or cancers or there's a lot of things that people we don't know how people's lives are. We don't know like what kind of relationships they're in. A lot of relationships are extremely abusive. If you are pregnant and your abusive partner finds out via an app, just logging on to Amazon when you were about to go, have some, take care of the pregnancy because you do not want to have a child with this horrible person. Well, now you've just created this whole huge mess for this individual because you decided you wanted to share data to help people buy stuff.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, I mean, with the Dobbs decision and Roe v. Wade, now that data, that information becomes like more important than ever. And we all know Amazon hasn't been the greatest at resisting subpoenas from law enforcement with Ring doorbells and other home devices, smart home devices they have. So yeah, this is like, it's a real touchy thing. I mean, people's health data is just like one of the most, it's like health finances. I mean, there's like some buckets of data that are just really sensitive. So I mean, they're really, I think I would hope that regulators would make sure that they, really kind of locked it down. But again, like you said, Roberto, it's like, they'll just be like, oh, well, we did it. And like, oops, whoops, we were mishandling the data this whole time. And it's just like, we see this over and over and over again. It's just, it's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of behavior. It's not a thing that's like, oh, well, they made one mistake, like they messed up this time. And it's like, no, this is pretty regular across so much of the industry.
Right. Well, Amazon in buying One Medical definitely signals at least their understanding that they are going to be placed under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of regulatory oversight as a result of this. But how much impact is that actually going to have? The other thing that we talked about the story briefly on Tech News Weekly, me and Micah Sargent on Thursday, and one of the things that we ended up talking about is like we live in a country where healthcare is just so filled with holes. Like it's a horrible situation here for healthcare for a large, swath of the population compared to other countries where healthcare is paid for everyone. And, here you have to pay through your teeth. If something like an Amazon buy of a primary care health, business like this is able to offer healthcare that enables people who couldn't have afforded it prior to now suddenly afford it. And, obviously there is the caveat of, okay, yeah, but the data, complications around that and everything. But that's also that is a benefit, right? Like being able to enable people who couldn't have afforded healthcare before to suddenly do that in a country where it's just a broken system. At least there's something there. But who knows if that's what we're even going to see from Amazon? I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves from, kind of the Prime ethos, as it were.
My Amazon Prime comes with dental.
Yeah. One tooth for free. And
one free tooth for every $200 I spend. I'm like, I know.
I would rather not have.
If you have Prime, they'll upgrade your crown from metal to just porcelain. That'll be so nice. Prime porcelain.
I would rather not have Jeff Bezos solve our healthcare crisis. Like,
Yeah, I know, right? Totally.
I mean, in a nutshell, that's really what it boils down to, right?
And he's not building super yachts or buying places with 50-something toilets. He's like, you know what I should fix? Healthcare.
Well, but Megan, allow me to release that kind of that tension that you have around Bezos, because it's not Bezos, it's Jassy. So, do you trust Jassy?
True.
No,
You're right.
You can trust Jassy.
Yeah.
With your healthcare.
It's like new Coke. Yeah,
I feel like
better. It's
I know so little about Jassy. Not that I know a ton about Bezos, but I feel like I do compared to Jassy. I don't know. I want Jassy?
I don't want to know anything about billionaires or super rich people anymore. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to hear about you. Just go. You have so much money. Just please leave the internet and go and just do whatever with your money. You good, bad, or indifferent. Just leave us all alone. We're all just trying to enjoy being online until it ends.
Until the collapse of society, can you just go away?
And then ends. That's it.
Right before society collapses, just give us your location so we can go steal your boats and your houses, and we can eat all your food.
I'll need your super yacht for Waterworld. When that happens, that's our Mad Max. I'll need some crawler, some desert crawler that's like 50 bedrooms. Fine, whatever. A sand crawler. I need a Jawa sand crawler. That's what I need.
That's all we need.
Until then, please, billionaires, if you're listening, stay off. Just get off the internet, please. Just don't be on the internet. I'm begging you.
Hands off BeReal, okay? Seriously.
Oh no.
Leave BeReal alone.
You just ruined BeReal for me. Just the anticipation. Just the anticipation.
Just you wait. It's gonna happen. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh well. It was a good 30 seconds.
At least.
You had a good run.
Let's take a break and thank the sponsor of this episode of This Week in Tech. And then we'll get back, and we got plenty more news to walk through. So we'll get back to that in a second. But first, this episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Audible. And, how many years have I been with Audible? Not as long as Leo. Leo, when he starts rattling off his stats, I'm always like, man, you could probably listen for like 100 years, the amount of hours that you have in your Audible library. I don't know. But I have a lot, not quite that much, but it's awesome. Like all of my spare time filled listening to audiobooks. I love it. And, our schedules, they're busy. We're always on the go. I feel like I'm always on the go. I don't have a ton of times to do the things that I want to do, but I can find the time. If I'm walking my dog, I can find time to listen to an audiobook. That's why I love Audible. Audible offers an incredible selection of audiobooks across every genre. And you go on there, you search for any author, any genre, you're going to find so many options. And all presented in a way where you can really kind of get to the root of, the suggestions and the reviews and everything to really kind of figure out exactly what you want to spend your time listening to. Bestsellers, new releases, celebrity memoirs, mysteries, thrillers, motivation, a lot of really good self-help, wellness, business, everything, you name it. You're going to discover exclusive Audible originals from top celebrities, renowned experts, of course, and exciting new voices in audio. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month, and you get to keep that from their entire catalog. You choose one a month, it's yours, including the latest bestsellers and new releases. And then all Audible members actually get access also to a growing selection of audiobooks, Audible originals, and podcasts that are included with your membership. So you can listen to all you want, and more are getting added every single month. And you can listen to the Audible app anytime, anywhere. I have it on my phone. It's always, up and ready to go. I've got my audiobook downloaded so that when I'm on the plane and I don't have connectivity, let's say, my audiobook is there waiting for me. So when you're traveling, when you're working out, walking, doing chores, big time into that, you decide. One audiobook that I have been actually listening to a second time. I listened to this audiobook called Untangled by Lisa D'Amour, guiding teenage girls through the 7 transitions into adulthood, because I have a daughter who is almost a teenager. And let me tell you, life's starting to get a little crazy around here. So I'm trying to do my best to be informed, to understand where she is at, and to be able to assist her and help her in any way that I possibly can. And this audiobook is just fantastic. Like I said, this is my second time listening to it. It's Untangled by Lisa D'Amour. She is just an amazing author on this topic, and I've learned so much through listening to it. So, and that's just one example, right? Like a lot of Twit fans, big into sci-fi. You're going to find tons of sci-fi on Audible and everything else under the sun. So let Audible help you discover new ways to laugh, to be inspired, to be entertained. New members can try it free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/twit or text TWIT to 500-500. That's audible.com/twit or text TWIT to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days. And you're going to love it. I mean, you're already listening to podcasts. You're already used to consuming information through your ears while you're doing other things, right? This is a way to allow you to keep reading, but with your ears. It's awesome. Audible.com/twit. And we thank Audible for their support of This Week in Tech. All right. Did anyone get their invites for DALL-E 2? Now that things are kind of like expanding out, anybody use this?
I still want mine, but I haven't gotten it yet.
I want mine too.
Send our invites. I'm on the wait list. I'm ready to type in my crazy prompts and get wild AI art. I need it.
I do too. This is so cool. I love any and almost all examples of how artificial intelligence is intersecting with kind of the creative arts. There's some things about AI that's kind of frightening to me in certain ways, behind the scenes of the tech companies and what they're doing and how AI is making decisions that's, promoting hate or, those are the things that I don't like AI for, right? Like there's a lot to be worked on, but I'm fascinated by this idea that AI is powering this like new generation of apps and services that can create art, be it music, be it visual art, that right now, let's say that it's not perfect. It's not always that I could look at an image and say, oh yeah, that's a human made that. And then it was a computer. Like it's not always that way, but it's happening more often now than it was when they started doing this sort of thing. And I feel like that's only going to continue to improve. And DALL-E 2, everything that, all the examples that you see from DALL-E are just, I don't know. It's mind blowing to me that you can use words and how to create it.
French fries dressed up as Dolly Parton. Like these are the things that I need.
Why don't you want that?
I could why? Where's my invite?
The world needs that. And I'm not going to learn how to draw.
The world needs it immediately. And I'll never learn how to draw. I need AI to help me realize my creative visions.
Yes. Because you don't actually have to have the creative, like the creative follow through on what it actually looks like. All you got to do is come up with a couple of words and let the computer draw it for you. I mean, who wouldn't love that?
Somebody said the other day, if you're really good at Googling, you'll be really good at DALL-E because you know how to type in the right keywords. And that made so much sense to me. It was just such a good explanation of yes,
that's a great explanation.
Great analogy. Yeah. Thank you. That's exactly right. It is. If you are really good at finding things on Google using keywords, you can be good at art on DALL-E too. I think that's really a great way to explain it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a fun artistic parlor trick is what the AI is right now.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I made a funny thing. It's really for, hey, look at this weird thing I thought up. And then it made it. And now it's on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or I guess not BeReal unless you take a picture of another phone.
Unless you're sitting in front of it right
then. And then it'll tell on
it's
you. It'll flag you for that.
It's like, hey, what are you doing?
Nope. I'm going to like this.
Like this. Yeah. And every time I hear the AI generated music, I'm always just like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's got a ways to go for sure.
So I think the artwork, the drawings, I think are a bit better. But it's always fun to see the monstrosity that it creates. It's the monstrosity that makes it fun. It's the merging together of two horror. It's like artistic chimera. It's just like
yeah. There's a certain chaos to it. That's appealing.
Frankenstein factor. There's a Frankenstein factor happening, or I guess Frankenstein's monster. That's Frankenstein's monster.
Oh,
factor.
you don't want you don't want those Mary Shelley people after you.
Nope, I don't. Mary Shelley stands are very serious people.
The Shelley Nation will come down hard on you.
Shelley stands are not messing around. Everybody, they don't mess around.
No.
The uncanny valley part of it is still interesting because it's like what you said, Jason. Like it's easy to look at something and think like, oh, like I am surprised that an AI made that, or that wasn't made by a person. The art, like I'm surprised the art itself, but then there's just something slightly off, and and it's disturbing. I had a former coworker has access and just tweeted like, tell me something to DALL-E. And I said, this was when my internet wasn't working. And I thought it was because a squirrel had eaten through the cables in the ground somewhere. And so I was like, squirrel eating my internet. And it's like a squirrel, like eating like a laptop. Just like, and it's just like, okay, well, yeah, like internet equals laptop. And it's just like, it was just disturbing enough. But yeah.
It's going to be great for horror movies. Like if you're making a low budget horror movie and you're like, I need a lamb eating a lion while like wearing a Dr. Pepper hat. That's a piece of art they're going to put in the background of a horror movie, and the people are going to walk in like, what is this? That's what DALL-E is going to be really great for.
I mean, I think you're touching on one thing that actually DALL-E will be really good for is generating ideas for actual designers to work
like
from.
Early concept art.
Totally. It's
phases of concept art could be really cool.
Yeah, someone gives you that prompt. They're like, well, what we're looking for is and then exactly what you said, Roberto. I can't recite it word for word, but what we're looking for is that. And as a designer, like I'm not a visual arts designer, so I don't know how the mind works in that regard. But I had to imagine that certain concepts come to you, or you want to pursue, but you have no idea where to begin. And, if DALL-E gives you 3 or 9 different ideas, boom, 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 there you go. Maybe that's the foundation. Oh, I didn't think to put the pancake on her head like that. That's interesting, or whatever.
It could also be interesting if you're an artist to like run it through, like, so you have a kind of base thing. So let's say you have a, possessed bear or what have you. We'll stick with the horror movie stuff. You have a possessed bear, but you're not really sure if you want it to be like gangrenous or if you want it to kind of be like less gory. And so you could run it through something like DALL-E to sort of like give you different options without having to draw out, do a draw over and then render it yourself, right? Like it could be something used for kind of that, where it's like, I just want to see the different iterations of this that I have ideas for and spit it out very quickly and then decide what I want to go forward with. And then you go and, as an artist, you would go ahead and do the actual concept art yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As a former designer, what we typically do is you just draw a lot. You have a bunch of little squares on a piece of paper, and you just start like doodling a ton of little ideas of like what you think like the design should be, or what the concept should be, or what the art should be. And then from there, you're like, oh, okay, so I like this bear, and I like it with a bloody face. You know what? What if and sometimes you want reference art. So DALL-E will be actually might be pretty good for reference art, because you're like, okay, I need a picture of a bear eating a cow. Now, finding that photo out in the world is going to be difficult. So what you'll typically do is find a picture of a bear and find a picture of a cow, and then maybe a picture of a bear eating like something else, and then you sort of merge those together as you're drawing. If you could tell DALL-E to like, hey, show me a bear eating a cow, that might help you when you're coming, because you take those like 12, 15, 60 pieces of thumbnail art, and then you narrow it down to like the 5 or 6 good ideas, and now you want something that looks a little bit better, so you can sort of, sketch it out. And if you need some reference of a bear eating a cow in this instance, then you might be able to do that with DALL-E, which is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's making me think using DALL-E as like a way to what is the word? It's escaping me right now. When you're making a movie and you got to do all the different little images of the different shots. Storyboarding. Thank you.
Storyboarding.
Using DALL-E as like a storyboarding tool would actually be.
Oh yeah, cool. It would be horrible for that. Actually, DALL-E would be horrible for storyboarding because you need control. Because you need control. You need control.
Yeah. I was just thinking, if somebody did storyboard a fictional, like a totally off the cuff, like you could do a short story with this. Storyboard something with DALL-E and all the randomness that it gives you, and then try and make a film out of what it gives you. You probably get some headlines at least. So there's an idea for you.
That's going to be.
I don't know what you come up with. That's going to be expensive. Yeah,
it's going to be expensive, is what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, now I got to go buy this and do this effect. Oh, this was a bad idea.
Yeah. This is horrible. This is horrible. One thing that's interesting about getting access to DALL-E, though, is that you get full usage rights. So commercialization, reprint, you could sell it, merchandise rights. I just think it's interesting that you could use, their platform to create something that you aren't actually creating. The system is for you, but it becomes an original piece that sits on its own and that you can then sell. I see many people going to this site and just making tons and tons of stuff, filling Etsy with all of this crazy merchandise and everything. I don't know.
So you own the copyright to the item once you create it. You own the copyright. Like if I created a piece of artwork, I immediately own the copyright to that artwork, unless I'm stealing it from somebody. So if I go to DALL-E and I create something, which with my words, and it gives me a picture, I now own the copyright, or they're giving me rights to use that image to
usage rights. Yeah.
Usage rights.
But it says, okay. So what I read, usage rights including commercialization. So. God, are those two different
they can use it too.
Things?
But
they can use it too.
Yeah, but they can use it too.
Not
so you don't have
rights.
your
Right.
Yeah.
So they own the copyright likely, but they give you usage rights. So if they see that you've taken something and you're making a mug and you're making $200,000 a year with your bear eating a cow mug, DALL-E can be like, you know what?
We'll have
maybe we'll make some tumblers with a bear eating a cow.
We're selling that mug too.
Yeah, we'll sell that mug too. I'm sorry for putting the image of a bear eating a cow.
It'll be interesting to see if they have some type of annual subscription model for people who want to just like own exclusive rights to their own like generated images. There's some interesting legal gray area there where it's like, yes, it's transformative, but also technically I would be the creator of it because I use the keywords to generate the images. So I'm very curious how all that sort of shakes out.
Right. Yeah.
But I wonder if it'll be something like Creative Cloud or, Shutterstock or whatever, where it's like you're basically paying to license your own AI generated phrases or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, if you pay this fee, if you're a professional, here's the fee you can pay. You can either pay per image like they do on stock photo websites. You can say, I want to license this for, $100 or whatever. And maybe they change the pricing based on like what's popular in SEO at the time. Like what are people searching for? What's like really hot right now? That's a thing that costs more money. And then, things that are less searched for cost less money to license out. So I'll be very curious to see how they end up trying to monetize DALL-E 2. And I'm sure that's coming. But I have a feeling maybe they will ask artists for like an annual subscription fee for unlimited licensing of, however many images.
I mean, they've started monetizing it actually with this announcement. It's a credit-based system. So basically, if you are a free user from the beginning, you get 50 credits for the first month free. And then every month thereafter, you get 15 credits. So that's 15 text prompts that you get for free every month, right? That you could use. You can purchase additional credits at $15 for 115 credits. So for $15, you get 115
kind of similar
tries.
to the stock photo system, like kind of similar to that. That's interesting. I wonder if they'll offer a professional option where it's just an annual subscription fee.
Yeah, at some point, I wouldn't be surprised because and this is, I think, one of the things that this is going to be used for a lot is people who are writing their own content for their site. Would normally go to, if they needed an image, go to a stock photo thing and try and find the thing that closely closest matches what they're writing about, but that's not always possible. So you end up picking from what you have. At least with DALL-E, you can say, this is exactly what I need. The challenge will be, how quickly can you get to that image that you're willing to accept, right? Because I mean, even though you have 15 tries, 15 credits, I mean, on the system that I used, which I can't, what was it called? The DALL-E Mini, whatever that was from like a month ago, where all the faces looked like they were like Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
On that system, you know, you put in a prompt and you weren't always guaranteed that the result of that prompt was going to be great. You know, you might have to do it 2 or 3 times to find the one that you're like, all right, that's a winner right there. So, you know, people are going to be burning through credits probably just to find the thing that they actually want to use in the end. But I think it'll be really useful for that. So I don't know. Time will tell. We'll certainly find out. Let's see here. Should we talk about selling? I mean, speaking of subscriptions, BMW's heated seat subscriptions, which apparently, and you know, when I saw this headline, I was like, are you kidding me? Apparently BMW's been doing this since 2020. So this is not the first example of a subscription model in vehicle sales, you know, features, as it were. Roberto, you're probably the best one on the panel to talk about this a little bit. What do you think about subscription model coming to the inside of a vehicle? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, automakers have been talking about subscription models for a long time because they're trying to figure out how to make more money from vehicles. Because right now, like a truck and an SUV, those are just cash cows for the automotive industry, like the gas powered ones. As we move to EVs, the margins are much lower. Just because trucks and SUVs, they don't have all the same regulatory issues. They can charge more. They make more money. The margins are crazy. So they're trying to figure out, like, well, how can we make money? Can we make money from subscriptions? Because most people have become accustomed to subscriptions. We have Netflix, we have Spotify, and for a few years, BMW offered CarPlay as a subscription, which, I mean, and the automotive press and owners just hammered them forever. And this is in the United States for this. And they finally just relented and said, fine, you're buying a BMW, you pay this much for CarPlay, and you just get CarPlay in your vehicle, which everyone's like, yay, because, you know, cars are expensive. But that doesn't stop automakers from figuring out how to do it still here in the United States, but also in other markets where they might be a bit more open to a subscription service. Like I believe the heated seats is in South Korea. It's not even here in the United States, but all the headlines were like, oh, BMW's going to be, well, that's not here. And, you know, but a lot of the U.S. press, well, there you go. See, Jonathan Gitlin, he knows. You know, all the press here is just like, oh, it's a fun, you know, easy click for people to get angry at something, because anger sells. We've all learned that. We've learned that through social media, is that if you have something that's going to make people angry and click, boom, that's how you're going to get all the page views, which with ad sales the way they are, I don't know how well that's working out for us anymore. But Tesla is going to make FSD a subscription. So there are all these subscriptions, and I can see where if there's a feature that you don't use all the time. Let's say GM's Super Cruise, which is a hands-free driver's assistance system. It's not automated driving. It's not, you know, that's not a thing you can buy. Don't think but it's a hands-free system. You don't need that, let's say 99% of your life. And then one day you and your family are going to go on this long trip. You're going to be on the interstate for hours and hours and hours. And you're like, you know what if I just subscribe to this for 1 month? So for this trip, we have Super Cruise, this hands-free driver's assistance. And so during that, 8-hour drive to, your grandmother's house or whatever, or Wally World, and that, 8-hour drive back, you have this extra driver's assistance system. For that, I can see it. But for things like, features in the vehicle, like heated seats or radio stations or, access to the infotainment stuff, that's really nickel and diming people who are buying cars. And cars are already expensive, regardless of whether or not you're buying a gas car or you're buying an EV. I mean, the median price is in the 40s 40 something $1,000. That's so much money. I can't afford a $40,000 car. I don't know. People are getting 5-year loans, and now there's all these defaults coming. 23% of vehicles that are financed in Washington D.C. are in default. It's a crazy world. And the automakers are trying to figure out how to continue to make money in this new EV world, but it's they have to tread lightly because BMW for years got hammered for charging subscriptions for CarPlay, which is it was just ridiculous, is what it was.
There's kind of a disconnect for me too, and I don't know if it's semantics or what, but I can buy a car. I can choose to pay for an option, right, when I buy a car. So and that's kind of the model that I'm used to. I buy a car. Do you want the upgrade to the blah, blah, blah? Yeah, sure, I'll get the upgrade. Or no, I don't want that. And if I don't want it, it's not in there. But this is kind of like, yeah, we put that in there. We're just not letting you have it until you pay us a little bit more. And I don't know. I don't know why the disconnect doesn't work for me there. Like, it's kind of the same thing, but it's kind of different, It's like it's already there.
Well, what's happening, and this happens with Teslas, is Teslas are built with all the hardware for FSD, or the FSD beta, is full self-driving, which isn't actually full self-driving. But all the hardware is already built into the vehicle. So if you don't buy FSD, Tesla, that reduces their margins on the sale of that vehicle. So they're always pushing you like, hey, you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to do this. And so much of what is coming out in vehicles now is software based. So the hardware is already built into the vehicles. It's, if you can reduce the amount of trim levels or that you're building, that makes it easier to build cars. If you're building just 2 trim levels and one has all the hardware and all the software for this, and one has all the hardware and all the software for this trim level, and you just push them through, and then there are features that you can either add when you buy it or add later on. That's extra money for them because they've already built it in. It's easier just to bake it in, especially when it comes to software, into the vehicle, as opposed to like piecemeal it. Oh, this person wants this person wants that, this person wants this. So that's where it's changing. And vehicles are now evolving because of over-the-air updates. So you can buy a car now that in 3 months, 6 months, especially if it's an EV, it might have better range because they figured out, with all the driving that people are doing with the vehicles, they're like, oh, if we adjust this in the acceleration, or if we adjust this with the way that the it's charging and discharging, we can give people an extra 5 miles. And so that's great, but it also opens up for this idea. We're like, well, if you want this feature, we'll charge you a subscription. But you can also go out and buy a car and be like, I don't want this, and then later on change your mind, which you can't do with, you couldn't do traditionally with cars. Right. So it's sort of give and take, and for every good thing, there's always going to be something where you're like, oh my God, really?
I mean, I've got 3. In my Tesla app, right there, I've got 3 available. I've got acceleration boost. I can get enhanced autopilot, which I didn't have an option for before. That's a new one that they used to have, and then they didn't have it, and now apparently they have it again. And then full self-driving. So it's it's my poor camera is very sad.
There we go.
But yeah, and then you have the subscription stuff where it's like, hey, here's your $200 a month or whatever if you want to just subscribe. So that's, and they're constantly like, I'll get a little notification or whatever from my Tesla app, and it'll be like, hey, friend, how are you feeling about, why don't you just take a look at these upgrades that we might have for you? Like, just look. We're no pressure. But also, if you want to drive your car a little bit faster, we could do that for you for $2,000 for the low price of $2,000. And so, yeah, they really, I will say it's not annoying. I don't have it's not constant in-app advertising from my car manufacturer. Thank God. That would drive me crazy. But But it is there. Every now and again I get a little notification that's like, hey, you should check the upgrade section. There's some new stuff in there. Or I don't know if you forgot, but you didn't buy full self-driving and you might want to check that out now. Maybe now you're interested in it. And so they just sort of remind you that it exists every now and again. So that's it is very interesting how cars, especially EVs, are just becoming so much more software based, which I know drives my dad crazy because he has an Ioniq and they did a software update and it changed like the entire UI, very similarly to how Tesla changed its UI like a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago, and he was like, oh, I have to relearn where everything is. It's driving me crazy. Like he's just mad, like he's furious about it. He's in his early 60s, just so mad about it. He's just like, oh, I had to look for everything. I didn't know where anything was, and it's just, that is frustrating. It's like, you really have like all of your dials and everything else, your screen dials, whatever. I don't have any dials on that car except for the two little wheels. But yeah, and then it's, you use your screen and then all of a sudden everything's different. Some stuff that you use kind of one touch is now buried under 2 or 3 submenus. There's like, it's a whole ordeal. And I know it actually like is better. Like I know that UI is more efficient in a lot of ways, but it's just, I'm so used to the previous one that you kind of grade against it. You're sort of begrudging on having to learn this new UI. So I'm sure they'll change it again and they'll do a big revamp of it. It's someday, but yeah, it's like very annoying for a lot of people who are just used to traditional cars where you have just gauges and dials and like that's it. And it's okay, well, and then you got your screen that has sort of your phone apps or whatever on it, your infotainment, but everything else is just right in front of you and it's always there and it's never going to change. So it's very difficult for a lot of folks who are not used to that to like start getting used to that.
Yeah, it's a big thing about muscle memory and how after you've driven a car for a long time, where the volume control is, where the climate control is, where this is. And even if you have an infotainment screen, where things are because you've been using it. Like, your dad got used to the way the Ioniq was laid out. And then they're like, oh, you know what? We're just going to change it. And again, maybe they change it for the better, but maybe they change it for the worse. I mean, again, it's, building a UI for a vehicle that's flying down the road at 70 miles an hour is difficult. But when you change that muscle memory, now it's like getting into a rental car. You're like, well, where is everything? And that's that. And that's literally my life. Every week I get a new car, and every week I'm like, oh, okay. How do I turn on the wipers? Like I'm flashing lights at people. I'm a professional automotive journalist, and I'm just flashing high beams at people all the time, trying to figure out how to turn the windshield wipers on. Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's right here," but you don't pull it to do this. You do this, or it's way over here in the infotainment system, which is just don't even get me started in windshield wipers and infotainment. But yeah. Yeah, it's again, there's a good and the bad of the whole, like, the tech, the rise of tech in vehicles, and for the most part it's good, but there are some things that are just painfully frustrating.
There's something that concerns me though about tech in vehicles, and I don't know if this is just outdated thinking or what, but I have a neighbor who has a Tesla Model X, got it very early on, and we've had the opportunity to, drive it, borrow it. Long story, but we trade trailers for Teslas sometimes when they need to, pull their trailer. They borrow our Sequoia and we get their Tesla. So it's kind of a sweet deal. Anyways, my point is, anytime I'm in his vehicle, which at this point, if I had to guess, probably like 6 years old, let's say, somewhere around there, the in-dash system is like crazy laggy. Like every time you do anything, things are slow. And it just makes me think like, as we kind of pursue further this world filled with vehicles who are half computer, half vehicle, and more of that technology is infused inside of the vehicle, will we run into what we run into now with our desktop computers and our laptops, which is that 6 to 8 years, somewhere down the line, this thing that was once very, very capable can do it, but it's just a lot slower. And like, what is it going to be in 20 years?
See, I disagree with this. This is the same thing as having like, a transmission replaced. You're just going to go and get your computer chip upgraded.
Just swap out the chip.
It'll cost you an arm and a leg, but you'll just be able to swap the chip, get it upgraded.
That's actually quite difficult because those chips they're so integrated with the entire system. So it's
they'll figure out how to do it.
It's less likely they're going to do that, and it's and for the most part, those vehicles are they're more and more the automakers are using quicker and quicker GPUs from mostly it's NVIDIA, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, NVIDIA has built a whole new headquarters just from all the money they're making from automakers. And I think for the, automakers they realize that these infotainment systems need to be quick day one and, 15 years later. So at some point, your vehicle will still get upgrades, but at that point, they're just fixes. You're not getting new, you're not getting new features. You're not getting, like an old iPhone.
So they'll say you're not compatible with the newest software upgrade. Like you're going to stay at this version or whatever.
Yeah.
I do think,
which is way more than what a traditional car.
It does feel like at some point we may get to a place where we could upgrade the way we do a computer, but I don't think that is close by any means, but I do think that would be like, because that's just more money, right? That a car company could get out of you if you were not planning on buying a new car every 8 to 10 years.
They'll just
wasn't that what you already do with Tesla?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's especially the early days, the last 10 years. You've had what people want versus what the automakers could deliver. And Tesla had the same problem when it comes to the speed of their infotainment system. You have laggies, you have screens that just turn off, you have screens that are half dead. Automakers would put in features, or they would have code that just wasn't optimized for the hardware. So you have screens that are, you end up with this latency issue, and software is really difficult. Just ask Volkswagen. They released the ID3 and the ID4, and both of those, the hardware was fine. The software just wasn't ready, and they released these vehicles, and people had these cars for a year before Volkswagen updated them so that the infotainment system wasn't just a laggy mess. That was really the number one issue with that vehicle, was that the software wasn't ready for the infotainment system. So you're telling people hey, you can buy this car, sure, but when you do this, expect the screen to wait and then move. Expect that to happen. Because the software is not ready yet. And now, they've upgraded it. But I mean, how embarrassing is that for one of the world's largest automakers in the world? They make, they Lamborghini, Audi, Seat. I mean, they own a ton of companies, and that's how hard software is that this company couldn't get their first real big, their real big, current generation EV onto the road with infotainment that wasn't laggy. It's
Megan, what were you saying? You were asking about Tesla.
Yeah. Isn't that similar to how you upgrade a computer? You just upgrade it, pressing the button and you upgrade. Is that what you were talking about?
Oh, I mean, switching out the actual chip. Getting
hardware
which is the hardware. I know that there were some hardware updates, for some of the older. Was it the Model S's, Roberto, where it was the older Model S's who had paid for full self-driving but did not have the capacity. So then there was okay, cool, but we also, your really old Teslas they can't actually run this. So we need to upgrade some of your stuff. There was a whole, I felt maybe I'm misremembering some of the specifics here.
There was a whole upgrade you could do in order to.
It was a whole hardware package.
It was a hardware thing. It was $1,500 or $1,800 or $2,400.
People were so mad because they were I already paid $10,000 for full self driving, and now you're going to ask me for another $1,500.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really weird, because you're selling things, and Tesla does this a lot, where they're selling something for the future as opposed to something that you're buying now. So when you buy FSD, and then the price just keeps going up, which is, they just need money is essentially what they need. That's why the price continues to go up, because most things, as technology gets better, the price goes down. But for FSD, it's the other direction. You're just all right, fine, whatever. But you're paying for a future product. You're not paying for something that's really usable as what it's supposed to do right now. You're paying for
you're paying to be a beta tester. You're paying to be a beta tester. Yeah. And that's look, if you want to do that, that's fine. I didn't. I just would.
I wanted my car.
I just wanted a car, and I liked my Model 3 a lot, and I just didn't want to fold my very giant toddler in half to put him in the back seat. So I decided to get a Model Y. But yeah, it's just we don't even have the infrastructure to really support full self-driving. In California, our roads are bonkers. Has anybody, we have potholes everywhere. It's just, I don't know. I feel like our state, it's not necessarily even the cars. It's just, there are so many variables on side roads that I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I think I'll just.
Well, that's the thing is it is the
myself,
cars.
It's fine. Like, you know,
it is the cars. The cars have to understand all these edge cases, and everyone thought they could do it 5 years ago, and then they got 90% there, and then they realized, oh no,
this is really hard.
Oh, this is really, really, really
like
hard.
Almost infinite edge cases. It's just, it's so difficult. It's a really hard problem to solve, and that's why we consistently have this like, oh, we're 5 years away from full self-driving. We're 10 years away from like true AI passing the Turing test. It's just like you get to that point and then you realize there's so much more that you didn't realize or know before that now you have to account for and factor in for and then program for. And so it just keeps getting pushed out little by little. I mean, I feel like humans have been saying, oh, we're going to have robots that are, sentient AI since like the 50s. They're like, oh, in 20 years, we'll have robots that serve us and like all this stuff. Yeah. It's always 20 years away. And so, maybe someday we'll close that gap. But for right now, it feels like it's still kind of in a similar space.
Yeah. It's like the broad strokes are a little bit or a lot easier than the fine details. Once you get to the fine detail point, there's just a myriad of problems in there to solve.
Yeah.
And it's
just hard. It's a hard problem. It's like they say about space. Yeah.
It's like we've just barely got them to make bears that can eat cows. Like let's not. AI is good for making bears that eat cows, serving you ads, and that's really about it.
And stealing your healthcare information.
Remember we were all supposed to lose our jobs as writers because AI was going to write all of our articles, and then they did it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is hilarious, but it's completely not usable."
Not yet.
Yeah, that's what they keep saying. Everything's not yet. And at some point, you're like, you know what? It's just easier just to have a human write it.
Yep.
It's easier to let a human drive a car. It's just easier to let a human draw a picture. It's just
they all appreciate having jobs, so that's good too.
Yeah,
it's true.
All right, let's take a break. This is so much fun. Love doing this show with the three of you, Ashley Esqueda, Roberto Baldwin, Megan Morrone. I completely lucked out with having you three on the show today, so thank you. This episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. When you're running a small business, you already know every second counts, right? You can't afford to waste a single moment. Business just moves too fast. So why are you still taking time out of your day to go to the post office when you could be using Stamps.com instead? Literally, it's going to save you a trip. It's going to save you many trips. Stamps.com makes mailing and shipping quick, easy, and cost-effective. And not only that, we put our money where our mouth is. We use Stamps here at TWiT, and Stamps.com has been a partner of this show since 2012. And we've been talking about them since then as well. So if you haven't tried them yet, what are you waiting for? Literally, we rely on Stamps.com. Stamps.com saves you time. It saves you money and stress. For more than 20 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. And Stamps.com gives you access to all the post office and UPS shipping services that you need right from your computer. So it's just a heck of a lot more convenient. And it's good for your pocketbook as well. You get discounts you can't find anywhere else, like up to 30% off USPS rates and 86% off UPS. How about that? Streamline your shipping process with Stamps.com's easy-to-use software. Their software is awesome. All you need is your regular computer and a printer. Other than that, no special supplies or equipment needed. You're up and running in minutes. You're printing official postage for any letter, any package, anywhere you want to send it. All done just easily. It seamlessly works with Shopify, Amazon, Etsy, eBay, and more. If you're running an Etsy shop or you're sending someone selling something on eBay, instead of sending them that package with like the Sharpie and their name kind of like scribbled in, hopefully it's legible enough or whatever, they receive it and they go, okay, I'm really hoping I find inside what I expect to find. There's a professionalism that is presented when you use Stamps.com for your postage. Instead, things look professional. You look like a legit business. That's the point. So whether you're an office sending invoices, whether you're an Etsy shop, like I said, sending your products, or a warehouse shipping out orders, Stamps.com is your mailing and shipping solution. You really should check them out. Stop wasting time. Start saving money when you use Stamps.com to mail and ship. Sign up with promo code TWiT for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage, and you get a digital scale as well. Super handy. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, and then on the page, you'll see a microphone. Click that. That's at the top of the page, and enter code TWiT, T-W-I-T, and you will be happy that you did. And we love Stamps.com. You got to check them out, and you'll love them as well. Stamps.com. And click that microphone, enter code TWiT. And we thank Stamps.com for their support of This Week in Tech. Any stories jumping out for you, for any one of you that you're like, you know what, we have to, before this show is over, we have to talk about this one thing. I'm open to anything at this point. What you got? And
I just put a story. I just put a story in there that one of my reporters at Protocol wrote. Just a little push. Lizzie Lawrence wrote about an email program called Gated. I don't know if you've heard of it, but how it works is if someone wants to email you, they have to donate to charity in order to get into your inbox. So the idea is to shift the onus, because like at this point, spammers can spam us. They can send us email, and we have to go through and delete it. Sometimes our spam filter works, sometimes it doesn't. But basically, like the onus is on us, not on the spammer. So like this is a new program that would be like, if you really want access to me, you have to pay. And she interviewed a couple experts on like how they felt about that. Like just the idea that, you would like, it seems a little bit elitist and kind of a little bit like Calendly, like the idea around Calendly. There was like a little bit of an uproar because it's like, oh, well, yeah, if you want access to me, you have to like, do this. So it didn't have money. But so, yeah, I thought it was an interesting thing to discuss because I am not as annoyed by spam as I used to be. It's just sort of a like delete. Like I know what I'm going to keep and what I'm not. And I don't know that I would use this, but curious if any of you would.
Can you whitelist people? Like if I want to whitelist like my mom, so my mom doesn't have to give a quarter every time she wants.
You can actually whitelist anyone. Like, yeah, your mom has to pay extra.
Oh, sorry, Mom.
Can you actually force someone to pay extra? That's my next question. That's my follow-up question. Also, where is the gated version of Gated where people have to just directly pay me? Like it just goes right into my Zelle. And it's a quarter every time someone wants to email me. I just get a quarter. Like, just please email me and pay for the privilege of being in my inbox. That's what I'll deal with it, whatever spammers, whatever. Fine. Just pay it directly just cut me a check. That's the charity I need.
Well, she actually talked to Esther Dyson, who was like,
the AE Foundation. They're like, what's this for? Oh, it'll go to a good cause.
Very small. It goes to a good cause. Some very thin dogs that are very needy, that have a lot of food needs. I have Italian greyhounds. They're thin by default. So that's how they are. They were born that way.
But it's your time. Like your time is worth money.
It's my time.
Like it should be. Yeah. Like that's what she talked to Esther Dyson, who's like invested in email programs like this before, and said like, you should not feel bad about like asking people to pay for your time. It's like being, asking to be paid to write for free or do anything for free. There should be.
Pay me a quarter to read your email. That's what we go. 10 cents, whatever it is, just do that. Like that's what I'm all about that system. Just deposit it right into my bank account. That seems good.
If you wanted to mail me back in the 90s or the 80s, you had to put a dime. You had to buy a stamp. So this is like your stamp.
Yeah, it's a stamp for email. Yeah, it's basically a stamp for email. But capitalism gets it, not the government.
Right. Well, the tagline for this service is noise canceling headphones for email. I like that because I could do with a little noise canceling on my email as well. I mean, same with you, Megan. When it comes to spam in my inbox, I guess we've been living with spam for however many years at this point, 20 plus years. At this point, I just I don't even really think about it. I just kind of like batch delete and move on. I don't know. I realize I probably shouldn't have to do that, but I mean, it's not that difficult either. So, Yeah, I don't know that I would use this. I'd be curious to see what kind of impact it would have on people who I actually want to hear from. But I guess you can set that all up, so it probably wouldn't impact them very much.
I'd like it more for phone calls and texts, because that's what's really annoying. Because I'm like, oh, a text, and I'll go and I'll look at that because I'm assuming it's from someone I know, and it's instead like, oh, Viagra, oh wow, from Germany. Let's see what they're
that must be
European Viagra.
I want $10 every time someone robocalls me about my car's extended warranty. That's just fast track me to $10 per phone call. Thank you. That's what I need. We should all get it. We all deserve it for putting up with these robocalls for so long. We have earned that money for answering these ridiculous calls about our car's extended warranty.
Well, touching on what you just mentioned.
That's super interesting, Megan. That's like really interesting. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, Ashley, just so you know, that is actually the number one complaint by consumers. And there is action in the FCC to somehow stop these robocalls for for these warranties. Yeah, the warranty scam as they write.
Infuriating.
In Car and Driver, but
also, how many people? How many people? No. Yeah, see, I was Roberto. Oh no, Roberto. How many people are they actually sweeping up in this dragnet? Because that's my question. Because I'm like, whomst among us is out there going, you know what? I need an you're so right. I had not thought about my car's extended warranty, and it is coming to an end. Like, who is that? Because not even my grandpa, who is in his 80s, is like, oh, my car's extended warranty, of course. Like, he's like, no, this is clearly ridiculous. Like, how many people could possibly be falling for this every year? I don't know. How is it so lucrative? Why is it so prevalent?
It's the numbers game, right? Like if you get that number of tries high enough, you're going to find that tiny little percentage of people that will fall for it.
They not know it's a thing. Who just haven't answered the phone in 2 years, and then one day they answer the phone, they're like, "Hello, oh my god!"
Or they have been. Yeah, they have been, and now they're like, you've convinced me. It's taken a while. But I've decided
finally
you're
expired.
right.
This is the time.
Extended warranty finally expired. It's about to expire.
Finally.
You're right. I will. Yeah, it's so bizarre. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around that one. I don't know.
Yeah. That is interesting though. What about Netflix? How is Netflix doing? What's the pulse on Netflix? This was the second consecutive quarter of losses. Not doing good. They lost 970,000 paid subscribers for the quarter. They expected to lose 2 million. So, they didn't lose as much as they thought they were going to, but still not good at all. Is anyone here worried about Netflix, or is this just kind of like had to imagine it was going to happen eventually? Netflix is going to weather this storm. What y'all think?
How many people would cancel like a TV station if they could in their regular cable? Like if they were just like, oh, if I never have to see, I don't know, ESPN, I don't care about
the golf
personally,
channel.
I don't. Yeah, the golf channel.
Sure.
I don't care about sports. So any sports channel, if they could like get rid of it when I had cable, I would have been happy. But you can't. Yeah. And that's the great thing for us as consumers with streaming services is that, you know what, I've watched everything I want on Paramount Plus. Unsubscribe. You can't do that on TV because everything's bundled and there's carriage fees and there's just blah, 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 blah. So, I think, because of that, people were like, okay, I watched all the things I want to watch on Netflix. I'm going to unsubscribe until something cool comes back. And I know people who do that. I mean, I've done that with Showtime. I've done it with Epix. I've done it. Yeah. I just like, oh, okay, I'm done with this show. I'm done with, I watched the show I wanted to watch. And now I'm going to unsubscribe and I'll come back later. I think that's just the new reality. And I mean, it's tough for Netflix because they're the big people on the big dog, I don't know, whatever you call them on the block. So their changes is going to be way larger than anyone else.
I think Netflix really believed for a long time in the binge model and that it would keep, if they just churned out as much content as possible. They're spending billions of dollars on content every year. And it's like, if they just kept churning out content, then people would stay on Netflix to watch something, right? Like there would always be something for them to binge watch. But now we have such an embarrassment of riches in terms of streaming services and high quality programming across all of them pretty much. Like I think I could tell you the name of a prestige show on just about any of the top 20 streaming services. I think, Netflix is realizing they are unable to capture the zeitgeist the way that they used to when they were when, as you were saying, Roberto, they were like the big dog on the street. And they're not able to capture the zeitgeist anymore so here's a great example. Stranger Things literally came and went in my social feeds. It just came and went. People binge watched it for about 2 weeks and then it was gone. And then it came back and people talked about it for another few days because it was only 2 really big episodes and that was it. And I still see some Eddie Munson memes and some other, running up that hill memes and stuff like that, kind of offshoot memes from it. But really it's not a water cooler moment anymore. And you can't make that anymore with a binge model because people are either spoiled so early that they don't bother. They'll say, I'll just watch it on my own time now that I've been spoiled. Or they watch it immediately, talk about it immediately, and then they're on to the next. And so this has kind of created a problem with Netflix because, like you were saying, Roberto, you can't just you binge something and you say, okay, I'm good. I don't need this right now. I'll wait until Stranger Things, the thing that I care about comes back, Squid Game. I'll just get rid of it for now. And companies like Disney are, being very methodical about capturing the zeitgeist, making water cooler moments. So they're releasing, if you look at their release schedule, it's literally Star Wars, Marvel show, Star Wars, Marvel show. It's just one after the other, but they're all just week by week by week so that people can have time to catch the episode, digest, talk about it. Then you've got a fresh episode to talk about. And they've done a much better job of capturing that feeling, that zeitgeist of having water cooler moments to discuss every single week. And I think HBO Max did this really well with shows like Game of Thrones and, AMC with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. They're still having these moments where it's the gated release schedule works for a reason. It keeps people talking about your show. And in a world where there is so much white noise, Netflix is learning that it can't just rest on its laurels and say, oh, well, we're just going to put out so much content that you're just going to be a subscriber because this is a great default service to have. A lot of people are realizing that's just not the case.
Yeah. I mean, I watched The Boys. I like that show. Bad, horrible people who are superheroes, but it was released every week. And I'm like, no, that's fine. I'm fine with that. And if I missed it 1 week, it's not like the olden days where we didn't have TiVo and they're like, well, I guess I don't know what happens, but you can we watch it. Me and my wife will sit and watch it on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then we'll go on, we'll binge watch whatever random thing has already been out for 6 months. And then, oh, hey, then there's a new episode of The Boys. That's something it's appointment television, which sort of went away with Netflix. And now everyone else is doing it but Netflix. And they think they really need to figure out how to do that. Even if they drop 3 episodes, the first 3 drop and then just sort of keep us around.
Yeah,
it's kind of their identity is the binge model, right?
They
really leaned into the binge model as a huge part of their identity. And I think what's kind of interesting right now, hearing you both of you talk about kind of weekly, release schedules on shows, is that no one, at least, and I totally agree, but the two of you talking about it, no one's disappointed when it's a weekly release. I'm fine if I don't have to binge. It's fine. Of course, there's there's the desire within me that if I have a full season, I will binge if it's there. But if it's not there and I have to come back next week, I'm not disappointed. I actually really end up enjoying those shows a little bit more, kind of because of exactly what you're talking about. So if that was Netflix's kind of model that it really painted its business around, it's kind of something that I think maybe people are realizing, oh, well, it's nice to have that, but it's not a necessary. It's not a have to have. And there's something appealing about that staggered release too. I don't know. I just end up appreciating the show more because you have the time to digest it. You have the time to talk about it and share and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's fun.
I think also the last two. Also, the last 2 years are everyone was home all the time. So it's like there's all these companies, and Netflix is just one of many like pandemic darling companies that really like all we did was watch Netflix. All we wanted to do was binge. Like we didn't do anything for the last 2 years, and now we're not anymore. Now we're out and in the world, and so like binging just doesn't doesn't compare to actually being able to like go to a restaurant and go to a bar, go on vacation, like go outside, be with a group of people, like all those things that we, stopped doing for 2 years, we're doing now again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember when the binge started with Netflix, like that was like, I'm like, this is how we're going to do it forever. And that was all about, I'm like, oh, we have to wait every week. I wish I could binge things. But as time goes on, and I think this like people just in general are like, you know what? There's so much. I just can't absorb everything so quickly. Just give me a week. Just, some shows are like, okay, fine, I'll binge watch it. But for the most part, I'm like, just let me breathe. Let me breathe. And, when you think about like old shows that, the appointment television, the Twin Peaks or Seinfeld or all these things where you had a nice week to sort of breathe on these television shows and sort of like get in, okay, what did this mean? What did this mean? Whereas I suppose where if it's just all at once, it's staggered, it's all over the place. It's hard to sort of talk about it because you don't want to ruin it for somebody else because I think as society, we were like, you know what? Just give us a minute. Just a minute. All we need is a minute.
Yeah.
And let us just
days,
sort of
it worked because there wasn't the level of content we have for streaming just wasn't there in the early days of like Netflix. And so, or streaming on Netflix. And now it's everybody's streaming. You can't, you would watch Disney stuff on the Disney Channel or you'd watch it on ABC or and now it's like, they're all on a level playing field. And so this idea of having, a binge model, it's really hard because like you said, when you want to talk about it with people, you want to capture that moment, that water cooler moment. It's you don't know what episode someone else is on. You don't want to spoil it for them. Maybe you're farther ahead than all of your other friends. Maybe you're the farthest behind. It's just, and it depends on any given week, right? Like maybe you just had a really busy week and then all of a sudden, oh, here's Stranger Things, last 2 episodes of it of the 4th season. Okay, here's, season 4, part 2. And you can't get to it that weekend. And it's just like, okay, well, I guess all my friends are done talking about it. So I will just watch it whenever I watch it. Like, there's always that moment where that model doesn't quite work anymore because there is so much out there. It just doesn't work. And I remember someone in the industry was excoriated in comments people were just dunking on this kind of media consultant or media analyst who said, I predict Netflix will have ads on it at some point. And people, this was probably 8 years ago. And people are just like, oh, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. This is the new model. It's going to be, no ads, this, that, and the other thing. And now that person looks like Nostradamus. So, they're certainly feeling pretty smug about themselves right now because Netflix is like, I think we might have to add ads. We have to have like kind of a base, same thing as Hulu, where you have like ads, no ads. Right. But it's like Netflix is going to have to pivot. They have to change in some capacity, either to continue to keep up that revenue stream and continue to make as much content as they do, which they really do. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are the number one spender when it comes to original content of all the streamers. And that is a big deal, the fact that they spend the most. And if it isn't today, it was for a long time that they were the number one spender in terms of original content. And so for them to keep up that amount of spending to make as much as they do, to license as much as they do, it will be very interesting to see how the ads versus subscribers stuff shakes out for them.
Because we have so many things to pay for. There's so many streaming services. And I know that they've already they shut down, I believe they shut down the Netflix animation, which a lot of my friends are in animation. And,
so much
they have friends who lost their jobs because Netflix is like, you know what? Let's just not make all of our own animation, or at least let's cut back on it. And so you're just like, oh. So it's not just the gravy train that we thought it was going to be forever and ever. They got to figure out how to adjust their business for a sort of changing world.
Yeah, they did. They laid off all of the people who were working on like all the shows. They had this like huge diversity push, like real like Black creators and LGBTQ plus creators, and they like just laid all of them off too. Like it was just like all
the editorial.
Actually, like, people who had bought
like
houses, like left their jobs, and so
The entertainment
and these
world's
were like
tough,
creatives that they had literally like, I mean, they had gone out of their way to get a lot of these really high profile people to come write for like their editorial arm and all this stuff. And then it was like 6 months, like the turnaround was so fast. And they were just like, oh, sorry, you like left your whole entire life. Like, we're going to shut this down now. So it's just, it's really volatile. And like the space is, I think Netflix is, it definitely is struggling under its own weight right now. And I think it has to figure something out quickly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the flexibility, though, of the streaming services like you were talking about earlier. And the example that I always come around to is the Olympics, right? Like I don't have an ongoing subscription to any sort of live TV, anything, but YouTube TV, I will drop into that for the Olympics for just that month. The fact that I could do that, whereas however many years ago when we actually had like DirecTV for years, I mean, there was no such thing as dropping in and out. It was so complicated. So that's
this is what you
benefit
got
for consumers now.
And
That's
YouTube and Hulu both like made it okay to pay for a subscription and also have ads like that. Like that was unheard of.
That's true.
And for a really long time, like Netflix was like, no ads subscription. And, unless you're part of a big giant other company like HBO or Disney, it's like, why not do both?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we will regularly watch the Roku channel, because I have like weird 80s movies my wife will put on, and they'll have ads in there like, all right, whatever, ads.
I'm a big Pluto TV person for like background TV. You can put on, the Kung Fu channel, or you can put on Drag Race. There's a whole channel dedicated to RuPaul's Drag Race that just plays it's just a shuffle on every season that has existed since like, I think season 12 and back. And it's great. It's great. You just throw it on and it's in the background, and you can have, whatever you want, whatever tickles your fancy, and it's free. Pluto TV is all free and everything, which is pretty cool.
But it is the same 3 ads over and over again, though.
Yeah,
that
does get a little,
it's not like every station break is like 3 different ads. No, it's
different
the exact same 3 ads over and over and over.
This is where this is where privacy laws need to like do me wrong a little bit, do me a little dirty, and be like, I know what you're interested in, and so here's some ads about it. Because like, man, I just really want to see like a cool toy commercial, and there's just not like, I don't see that anymore. It's just all like, hey, are you interested in NFTs? And it's just like, like I don't want this. Like, no. Or like, hey, try some new medication. Like it's always just the same prescription ad like 4 times, like throughout this, whatever the show is, like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It's just like, hey, here's this new prescription you should try if you have heartburn. And it's just like, this is so boring. Why can't the ads be good?
Yeah. Well, they need to have like a classic ads channel that just gets inserted in there. Yeah. So at least, keeps things interesting, and you can watch the ads from
new
ad,
classic
Transformers ad.
Classic,
new ad,
new classic ads. Just classic ads from like the 50s to the 90s. Just that would be really fun.
There you go.
It get my attention. Just put it in like a sandwich in there, just like radio DJs, right? Where it's like you have you got the two things that are new and fresh things you want to sell, and then you have like that classic. You have the classic ad, and you're like, oh hey, I remember this, and you're watching, so you're actually paying attention.
Yes. Well, speaking of ads, let's take a break. And I don't have a classic ad to play for you right now. I do have, I guess it's classic if you've been listening to This Week in Tech for a number of years, because this episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by ExpressVPN. They've been with us for a while, so let's consider them a classic. Profiling, surveillance, data harvesting. There are a lot of things not to like about tech giants, right? And we talk about these things on the network all the time. But what can you actually do about it when you rely on so many of their products. We don't all have $44 billion to go buying up Twitter, but the good news is you don't need to be a billionaire to take a stand. That's why I use ExpressVPN. I use it on all my devices for less than $7 a month. You can join me and actually, fight back against big tech by using ExpressVPN, not to mention just fight back at protecting your data all around, not just from big tech. You want to have good control over your data. That's really why I use ExpressVPN. And especially if I go traveling anywhere, you better believe I've got ExpressVPN running on my smartphone. If I'm in that, the often used, example is in that coffee shop, but that you've got free Wi-Fi all over the map at this point, not just coffee shops. And if you're using that free Wi-Fi, probably a pretty good idea to activate ExpressVPN. That's certainly what I do. How do you think big tech companies make all their money? They do it by tracking your searches, your video history, and everything you click on. And then they're selling your personal data as a result. Well, ExpressVPN helps you anonymize much of your online presence by hiding your IP address. Which, as you know, is a unique identifier that really identifies your specific device. And, that allows big tech to match your activity back to you. You don't want that. The best part is how easy it is to use ExpressVPN. The app is just super easy. I just tap one button on my phone or my computer to turn it on, and that's all it takes to keep people out of my business. And actually, I should also mention, on Android especially, you don't need to use the app. Android has a little quick settings area that when you have the app installed and have it all set up, I just go into my quick settings and I tap on connect to VPN. There's one there for ExpressVPN, and boop, it's going. I didn't even need to launch the app. It's that easy. If you don't like big tech tracking you and selling your personal data for profit, it's time to fight back. Visit expressvpn.com/twit. Do that right now, and you will get 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's right, for free. That's expressvpn.com/twit. Check it out. Awesome VPN. Doesn't slow anything down either. That's like a common complaint about VPN is like, when I use VPN, everything slows to a crawl. You don't get that with ExpressVPN. I certainly don't. expressvpn.com/twit. And we thank them for their support of This Week in Tech. All right, before we get to the last stories of the show, let's take a look back at the previous week on TWiT.
I wanted to share a bit of a oops moment, if you will, in the world of photography.
Well, that got cut short because I ended up stepping in a yellow jacket nest and got stung a handful of times. Shoot, they still out here. And I've got a fire safety.
Previously on TWiT. Windows Weekly.
Essentially found out from multiple sources at this point that Microsoft is moving away from its annual sort of major release of Windows and is moving to a major release every 3 years with feature drops in between. Now, they call the feature drops moments.
Mac Break Weekly.
You forget, if you've been living on an M1 MacBook Air for a while, how slow in comparison those Intel MacBook Airs were. M2 is faster than M1, there's no doubt about it. And having MagSafe come back, having that extra port now.
This Week in Google.
At Google I.O., if you remember, Google was talking about kind of the next iteration of AR glasses that Google is working on, going to put out at some point. But apparently they're going to start beta testing these suckers, I think, next month, starting in August.
Because they learned the lesson with glass that if you give it to just everyday, ordinary schmucks like me, we're going to end up making fun of it, and it's not really going to work. So they realized that the real use of it was for tradespeople and doctors and so on and so forth.
Mr. Jarvis, as someone that has their own theme song, you're not an everyday person, my man.
TWiT.
I wasn't
Definitely not a schmuck. What y'all think about Google's AR glasses? They're going to be beta testing these. So it's possible, I mean, not to the degree that they did with Google Glass, of course, but it's possible that you might encounter someone wearing Google's translating AR glasses. That's kind of a neat feature. I don't know. Are you guys interested? Crickets.
I made a big stink about Google Glass once on the show, and then someone was kind of mad at me about it, and then I pointed to things. I'm like, wrong, you're wrong, I'm right. But I was very nice about it. So With Google Glass, they oversold what that thing was going to be. And then it came out, and then everyone bought it, and then everyone's like, oh, this is dumb. Everyone's doing this the whole time. Just like half rolling their eyes. It's just, I don't know. Do I need AR glasses? Do I need glasses just to translate? If I travel to other countries a lot, that's like part of my job is to leave America pretty often. And I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. I don't need AR glasses.
I feel like I would rent them for a vacation.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good.
Like renting seems like a thing, like a vacation rental.
Yeah, like you go to Japan and like it's part of your Airbnb. Because when I went to Taipei, I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing. I have no frame of reference for what's going on in these sites. Right. Whereas Europe, I'm like, okay, I kind of figure it out.
For Latin-based languages, for me, I'm able to like maybe suss out some stuff, and like that's like I can kind of find my way around it like over time. But then, yeah, if I was going to a country where I just had no frame of reference for the language, then having them would be nice. But yeah, this is the thing where it's like, I feel like if I was going to stay at a hotel, maybe I could add it on to my stay. Or if I was staying at an Airbnb, it would be a very nice perk where it's like, okay, and you have the option to use Google AR glasses. They can translate for you live while you're here. Please just make sure that you take care of them. And if you break them, you have to buy them or whatever. And then that's it. Like you're using them and then you're responsible for them and then you put them back and then you leave. And it's like, that to me seems like the better sort of way to do it. Or like if you're going to a business conference, you know, and you're going to a foreign country where you don't speak the language or you can't read the language, then, you know, your company provides you with Google Glass AR glasses to go for the conference. But again, like it's sort of it's a weird like rental thing. It feels like it would be a thing that would be owned and loaned out to use for a specific use case. I don't know that I would use it every day.
Yeah, it's like how often do you use Google Translate? I've used it in Korea and in Taipei, and then like maybe a few times in Germany. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do wonder if these glasses, I mean, they can't just be translating glasses. Like that's the only thing they do. And if that is, that's a very specialized thing. Very, very limited, right? But if they are, kind of broad strokes, AR glasses, translation is one thing. What are those other things? What is the killer app? Because that's really cool, but that's a short-term kind of drop-in sort of thing. I only need this a handful of times, and I need it in very specific situations. But yeah, I wonder if
like
there would be
mapping
more functionality. Yeah, mapping.
Like I'd love to be able to get
GPS.
around without looking at my phone, like walking.
Yeah, but again, like you feel like that's like a tourist thing, right? Where it's like it would be a place that you're unfamiliar with, a language you're unfamiliar with, something you're unfamiliar with. You would want to use it, so it would be by definition a temporary use case. It wouldn't be a long-term use case.
Yeah.
I'm very bad at directions, so I would use it all the time, wherever, walking around my neighborhood.
Well, there you go.
I feel like my husband would too. Yeah, he's absolutely he would get lost. He would get lost in a wet paper bag. Like he's terrible. Like, he has no sense of direction. No, he knows it. He'll admit it to you.
It'd be great for the mall.
I
can never find anything in the mall.
Let's go to the mall.
Yeah, you go to the mall. You put your Google Glass. I'm gonna find Aunt Annie's and get myself a pretzel. I'm not going to walk for 30 minutes.
Going to the mall
if I just had a pair of Google AR glasses that only directed me to the nearest hot pretzel, I would pay for that, actually. That would be
the hot pretzel app. That's all I want is the hot pretzel
AR. Just hot pretzels only. I'm going to set it to that setting. Just please do not show me anything but where I can find a hot pretzel with cheese. That's what I want.
Donde está Wetzel's? That's all I care.
Yeah. Wetzel's pretzels or Auntie Anne's. Like that's it. That's all I want. Just show me where the kiosks are.
So you're wearing these at the mall, and sure, it tells you how to get to the pretzel. But on the way, you look over in that clothing store. You look over in the clothing store, and there's a little call out that's pointing to a rack with a whole series of pants there. And it says 50% off while supplies last or whatever. Would you be open to that kind of AR?
No, because that's an ad. But what I would be interested in is if I were, let's say, at a Macy's and I was looking at a designer handbag and I looked at it and AR was able to scan it and say, hey, this bag is available for 50% off on this website or the designer's website or, Zappos or whatever. That I'm interested in. That I'm very interested in. Show me how to get the best deal on something while I'm actively looking at it, because I do that already, right? You price compare when you're at a big box retail store. You look at something, you go, can I get this cheaper somewhere else? Let me just double check. And you check on your phone. Like, if I could get that information quickly without having to type in a bunch of stuff, like it just scans the item and says, I know what this is. This is an iPad from 2020 or whatever, and here's where you can find it cheaper. Like, great. That I'm into.
Can you do that with Google Lens now?
That's a great question. I use it
you
to
can do it with
identify.
Amazon.
Take a picture.
Yeah. But I mean, just that live parsing of it, where it's like there's no real process to it. If it's just wearing the glasses and it tells me, oh, hey, I see that this says it's, $299, but you can actually get it for $99 over here. Like, for this camera lens or whatever, it's $1,000 here and it's half price over at B&H. Like, I need to know that information. Like, that's very helpful to me.
It's waiting for your hot word that is something along the lines of, ooh, I like this. And then it's like, bloop, okay. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
That way it's not scanning everything.
Help me impulse buy. Like, help me with my anxiety spending. That is what I need. The AR is for anxiety reality. That's what I need. I need anxiety reality to help me spend money.
I feel like AR is more anxiety inducing than
anxious
than
reality.
believing.
Yeah. It's not augmented. It's anxious. It's anxious reality.
Yeah. Anxiety ridden.
Yeah.
Maybe AR would be helpful if you were looking for I don't know how to tie it into the story. Prototypes of an original Apple One being auctioned.
Good try, Jason. Good try.
Yeah, I tried. Yeah, trying to get those expert transitions in, but not quite.
Good try.
Apparently, though, the original prototype of the Apple One, Steve Jobs' original Apple computer A prototype, is being auctioned right now. And I think last I checked, it was around $305,000 if you wanted to get it. So, yeah, still $305,000. See, it's not moving. You got until August 18th if you want to.
Let's pull our money.
Something.
I got $20. What do you guys got? And this
An Apple One in this economy? No.
I know, guaranteed collector's item.
Can it run Doom? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Does
it run Doom? You should get a discount.
Yeah, probably not.
No one's giving anybody a discount on that. And also, probably not. It probably cannot run Doom. But you know what? Stranger things have happened. I love when people put Doom on things like pregnancy tests. It's like the coolest thing in the world to me.
I haven't seen that one.
The things people have run Doom on it's actually just like legendary status at this point. People have worked very hard to make Doom run on just about anything. If it has a tiny screen, even the tiniest of screens, you can make Doom run on it.
Also begs the question why a pregnancy test has a tiny screen. Like, it's just a
great
yes
question.
or no, right?
Yeah.
Everything's app. Everything needs an app now.
Gotta have the app, gotta have the words. It can't just be 2 lines. That's confusing. It's gotta be
can't be like the plus or the minus.
No.
It's really just
gotta be a dancing baby.
Because people are like, is that does that mean like, oh, what great news, you're not pregnant? Like, that's positive. Like, it's positive news, or positive news, you are pregnant. Like, it's confusing. People get confused.
Yeah. Like the COVID test. It's like positive is not positive.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is an episode of The Office.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Michael, like, it's positive, it's negative, and he's like, oh no, negative is good. He's like,
a good thing. Yeah.
Sorry, I went down the Doom on a pregnancy test rabbit hole and found an article in Popular Mechanics that kind of showed it off. I put the link in the chat room if anyone wants to check it out. But that's impressive, even though it's pretty low res. But technically it works.
Still Doom.
Technically it works, and that's what matters.
And that's what matters.
You are technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
Well, speaking of Doom, I mean, there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to talk about Doom. Co-creator John Romero apparently working on a new first-person shooter. So if you like Doom, I mean, this isn't the first time that they've made some sort of a follow-up. So I don't know. I'm not much of a gamer anymore. Is this news? I don't care.
I mean, it's always exciting when somebody who's sort of an icon in games is doing something new. That's nice. You know, but they've got a major publisher, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of cachet there. His name, John Romero, it's like, oh yeah, hey,
sure.
I helped make Doom. Like that's kind of a big deal. So seems like it'd be pretty easy to find a publisher, which apparently that's the case. And but yeah, they've published other stuff before. They had a strategy game. And I think they talked about this shooter is going to be powered by Unreal Engine. So it'll be the newest UE5. So this will be like, you know, it's going to be a whole thing, I'm sure. I mean, I'm all about a new single player shooty man. The new Dooms are so good. I mean, outrageously good. If you have not played, if you are a fan of original Doom, and you have not played the new ones, the 2016 Doom, the ones that Bethesda and the ones that they're making, incredible. So good. The pacing is so good. The power fantasy is so good. The graphics are amazing. The music is incredible. It's just like, the way that game just keeps you moving forward and you have so much fun playing. It's just great. It's so good. I can't recommend it enough.
Nice. I'll have to look into that. So along the game tip though, Discord coming to Xbox, like this, again, I put this in here thinking like, well, that sounds significant because I know, you know, there's a lot of crossover there. I'm kind of surprised that Discord wasn't on Xbox prior to this, but apparently that's the case.
I have to hook a keyboard to my Xbox now.
So no, you could just do a Discord
or I have
call.
to use that.
It's a call. It's a voice call. Usually voice calls.
I could do that.
Here's
I guess.
Here's the problem. So I love my Series S. It's great. I love Game Pass. I think it's an incredible like value for what it is. This $15 subscription, you get access to so many games. Setting up this whole thing is a process and a half. Like you got to connect. You've got to get the mobile app. Then you have to transfer Discord. You have to use your phone to transfer Discord calls to the Xbox. You have to connect the Xbox account to your Discord account. It's very convoluted. There's a lot going on here. A lot of gamers use Discord though, so this may prove to be very useful. And the other thing that I should mention is I have a PS5 and an Xbox Series S. And my best friend and I play video games on both. We play co-op games on both. We play on the Switch as well. And in order of ease of use, PS5 like blows the other two out of the water in terms of just joining a voice chat. It's like very simple. You literally just click on your friend's name and it says join voice chat and you just join. That's it. And on Xbox, it's like more complicated, but it's at least on device. And then on the Switch, it's like you have to do it through an app that connects to a specific game that you might be playing at that time. It's just not even worth it. So in that regard, that it's a little bit more complicated and not as easy to join a voice chat on Xbox's dashboard, this is a good thing. This will be a good thing. And I think a lot of gamers who are really into Discord and use it very heavily will find this like a minor inconvenience to connect your accounts and get everything set up. And then we'll be very happy with it going forward.
Yeah, finally. Yeah.
Yeah. But this kind of stuff should just be done across all consoles. You should just be able to plug into, plug into your Discord, plug into, we used to have back in the day when I was raiding in Wrath of the Lich King, we used to have TeamSpeak. That's just, now it's new stuff. But you should be able to plug into all these voice chat apps and just be able to like talk to people, and it's just easy. Shouldn't make it difficult. The whole point of gaming in so many aspects at this point are, even when you're playing a single player game, you can be in voice chat talking to your friends, like you're hanging out with them. It's a very social experience. So to make it difficult doesn't make sense now. So maybe if they streamline this process, that would be great. But for now, it's still a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of part of the reason why I put it in there. I was just really surprised that it hadn't happened before, so that's good. And then finally, about to wrap things up, but finally, Meta, that's Meta, the installation art company that you can find at meta.is, is apparently suing Meta, the Facebook company, for trademark violation. Meta.is has been around for about 12 years. They hold a valid trademark for the name. And actually, their business has to do with and this is from their site, multi-sensory live experiences that ignite the human spirit with technology, design, music, and storytelling. So I don't know if that's a perfect overlay over the top of the metaverse ambitions that Facebook has, but they've been trying to negotiate with Meta for about 8 months now, saying, hey, you guys are embroiled in all of these privacy scandals, and now our name is tarnished, and it's impossible to share the name with a company. So they're suing Meta. Probably, I can't imagine it's going to amount to very much, but I feel bad for them because that's quite a, they have all that background, 12 years of building up their own name and reputation, only to have Facebook come along and buy the name and
tarnish it.
Tarnish it.
You have tarnished our good name.
Yeah.
Tarnished. It's like the Mark Zuckerberg General Hospital. People were concerned about going to the Mark Zuckerberg Hospital because they were afraid, this is in San Francisco, they were afraid that their data would be sold to Facebook. That's how tarnished. When your name is that tarnished, maybe you shouldn't put it on things, especially with healthcare.
Yeah, Amazon's not going to call it the Jeff Bezos Hospital.
Exactly. No, that's true. Not that we know, anyways. Probably not.
So far.
Yeah.
He's probably got his own hospital. It's just for him. 40 rooms.
Sure. Yeah.
It's
like Barbara Streisand has a mall. Like, Barbara Streisand has like a mall. Like under her house. It's like a mall.
Wow.
Stores.
No. Does it have a Wetzel's Pretzels?
You know what? That wouldn't surprise me.
If it doesn't, what's the point?
Yeah,
but also,
seriously.
so interestingly enough, like I think about that when I think about like even more rich people. So yeah, he probably does have his own hospital. Probably just has literally like a doctor on call all the time, like within, just on retainer. Just pays him just to call him and be like, hey, I got this weird like bunion. Can you just look at it? Just like text him. He's like, hey, I was lifting weights the other day. I think I strained my bicep. Help. Like, it's just, he's just got some doctor on call all the time.
Yeah, he has multiple hospitals. One is on his yacht. It's a traveling hospital that follows him.
Oh, yeah.
Floating hospital, totally. Yeah.
He has more than one yacht.
That's true. He's got a hospital on every yacht.
Which therefore, yes, he has more than one hospital. That's we can just extrapolate the data.
The Bezos healthcare system is far more advanced than One Medical.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what we have to look forward to.
100% he has called it St. Jeff's. Like it's St. Jeff's.
Oh, yeah.
St. Jeff's Memorial. Like we all know that's got to be the name he's like anointed it with. St. Jeff's Memorial Hospital.
Quit trying to make that happen, Bezos. Quit trying to make that happen.
I just want you to know, Jeff Bezos, if you are in fact going to name your weird, like One Medical stuff St. Jeff's, you owe me so much money. You have to cut me a massive check.
And all he has to do to get in touch with you is go to ashleyesqueda.com. Because why? Because you are awesome, Ashley. Thank you so much for hopping on this episode of This Week in Tech this week. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. Can I plug my book?
Absolutely. Please do. This is your opportunity. What you got?
It's like the one thing I'm doing right now. So I am, I'm excited to tell people I'm writing the Art of Psychonauts 2 with I Am 8-Bit. So if you go to iam8bit.com, there is, well, first of all, they have a ton of really awesome Psychonauts 2. They have a collection. So they have a physical collector's edition that they're going to release later this year. Yeah, it's going to be this gorgeous, like well laid out art book. You can see there's that's our, it's not final, but this mock cover that we have is absolutely beautiful. We are working with Lost in Cult, who makes a prestigious, very high quality gaming journal. It's not even really a magazine. It's sort of a collector's item. They're going to be doing the book design. And I have been drowning in beautiful concept art and interviewing a lot of the developers at Double Fine about their work on Psychonauts 2. And so if you are a fan of the game, you can pre-order it and it will be out as soon as I'm done writing it, which who knows when that will be. No, it's supposed to be out in Q1 of next year. So please make me look good and pre-order this book that I'm writing that I am so excited to be involved with. I'm really so excited about it.
Yeah, that looks really cool. That's some pretty catching artwork there as well.
Yeah, gorgeous,
so
gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Right on. Congratulations. That's an accomplishment.
I was very excited when they asked me if I wanted to be the person to write it.
That's amazing. Well, Ashley, we will be following, and we will definitely you will be hearing from me as the person who books this show sometime in the future to bring you back. And then, of course, as you get closer to the release of that, get in touch. We would love to bring you back and give you a chance to plug it. So
show it off.
Ashley. Show it off.
Thanks
That's right.
for having me.
That's right. Yeah. And Roberto Baldwin, thank you so much, man, for hopping on today and bringing the man about town to this panel today. What do you want to leave people with?
Man about town? I don't know. I write a bunch of stuff for a bunch of people. Wait, you know what? I have if you're in the Bay Area and if you like the Talking Heads and Devo, this hasn't even been announced yet, but at September 10th, two of my bands. I have so many. Anyway, we're doing a Devo and a Talking Head show. It's September 10th at Rickshaw Stop in San Francisco.
Nice.
And I don't think there's anything else. I don't know. Be nice to your friends, I guess. That's my big plug for the day.
There you go. And to your pets as well.
And to your pets, especially who isn't nice to their pets? Come on.
Some people need a reminder, probably. Someone out there does.
The dogs are circling me like sharks because they want to go outside.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Well,
they can feel the show coming to an end. Thank you.
Yes, they can feel it. It's in the air. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a lot of fun hanging out with you today. And of course, Megan Morrone, I have missed podcasting with you. It's so good to have you on the show today, Megan. Thank you for hopping on.
It's good to be here. We should go to celebrate your birthday to Robbie's show, which is the day before your birthday.
Good memory. There you go. Wow. Thank you for remembering that.
You're welcome. Do you know my birthday? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you in a second. Tell us what you're working on, Megan.
Okay. I am, I cover the workplace at Protocol. Protocol is a part of Politico, and we cover power and politics and tech. So just how technology works as a force of power right now. And so covering the workplace, so talking about back to work, remote work, hybrid work, labor, organizing, DEI, everything that involves working. So you can check that out at protocol.com. And I do a weekly newsletter about the workplace. So sign up for that. And then you can get me in your inbox, me and my team, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Right on. But not on March 15th. On that day, you're celebrating your birthday. See?
Yes.
See?
Yeah.
I got there eventually.
There you go.
I'm embarrassed. All right. Thank you, Megan. Always a pleasure. So great to see you today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And me, well, you can find me all over the TWiT network as evidenced by this very show, sitting in for Leo. Leo should be back next week, so look forward to that. But you can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter, doing all about Android, twit.tv/AAA every Tuesday, doing Tech News Weekly with Micah Sargent every Thursday. That's an interviews show. We have a lot of fun with that, twit.tv/TNW, so check that out. Let's see here. Club Twitch. We talked a little bit about this. Twit.tv/Club Twit. You may or may not have heard, but we have a subscription ad-free tier service for all of our shows, no ads. If you go to twit.tv/Club Twit, you can see all about it. You get all of our shows with no ads. You also get exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed content. So a lot of, some of the behind the scenes stuff that we do before and after shows gets put in there. Ant Pruitt, of course, community manager of Club TWiT, there's a book club that he and Stacy do. There's all sorts of, awesome stuff happening just in the club as well. So twit.tv/Club TWiT, get that as well as access to the members only Discord channel, $7 a month, or you can pay for the entire year for $84 for the year. So do check that out, and we think you will love what you find there. As for this show, twit.tv/TWiT, it's pretty easy. Go there. You'll find all the information you need to know about This Week in Tech. We do this show every Sunday, 5:15 p.m. Eastern, 2:15 p.m. Pacific, 21:15 UTC. So if you happen to be around a computer and you want to watch live, you can certainly do that, twit.tv/live. But I would say subscribe in your podcatcher of choice, all that information on the site, and then you'll get the episode like magic. You won't even have to think about it. It'll be there waiting for you as soon as it's ready. Thank you so much for the opportunity to sit in for Leo today. I've just had such a blast doing this, and I can kind of check that off my list. Hosted an episode of TWiT. And thanks to everyone out there for watching and listening. Another TWiT is in the can. We'll see you later.